Are you ready? Okay, please welcome everybody to the regular board meeting of CCWD. It's Wednesday, October 11th at 1 p.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Becky, can you take roll?
Director Cicada. Here. Director Thomas. Director Davidson.
Here.
Director Underhill.
Here.
President Raderman.
Here. Item 2 on our agenda is public comment. At this time, members of the public may address the board on any non-agendized item. Nope. The public is encouraged to work through staff to place items on the agenda for board consideration. No action can be taken on matters not listed on the agenda. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Looks like we have public comment.
All right, we got it.
Hello.
How you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well as well, and I hope the rest of the board is doing well. Hey,
Good afternoon.
look at this. Let's all win. Mr. Davidson, attend more meetings, you get money. You get $120 per meeting? And I was looking at the last meeting and you only got like 300 and some odd dollars. I care about you.
If you cared about me, you wouldn't want me to sit on this board.
Well, you didn't actually put your name in until pretty late to run for the board again.
This is your public comment, not mine.
Okay, I know, like, it's good to chat with you folks. I'd like to thank staff. Mrs. Rebecca Hitchcock is doing a fantastic job with the cookies, but no chocolate chip. She just cares about me and got me healthy stuff this time. You know, every turn, when I'm paying attention to CCWD and people come back to me and report that something's going on here or something going on there, I ask questions. Sometimes I just ask questions to myself, and sometimes I ask questions to staff. And sometimes the answers are disturbing. They don't jive with the way a public entity should be run. And as you know, it's been pretty rocky road we've had lately. But I would like at the next meeting or sooner for you to do a performance evaluation of your general manager. He seems like a very nice man, and the decision is not mine whether you ask for his resignation or not. But there are some questions here I have, and I can pose those questions to you in an email in a written form that you need to ask. You know, the first thing that you do as a general manager when you're hired is evaluate your situation. What's going on? Who do I represent? In this case, you represent the ratepayers. You don't represent the SEIU, who a lot of their members are ratepayers. And when you increase fees for them, a lot of them can't afford it because you're not proportionally increasing their pay. And if you proportionally increase their pay, you would end up with this vicious cycle that would continue every few years. You'd have to continue this, continuing to raise rates, and they'd have to get more pay. Now, I haven't seen the latest contract. I understand it hasn't been ratified yet. I need to see that. I need to see that contract, the SEIU contract.
Publicly available. It was adopted in a public meeting. We'll get it to you if you want a copy of it.
I need a copy of the existing contract and the contract that you are working on. I think the latest contract is only good till 2005. Is that correct?
No, the current contract goes through 2026.
2026. Okay, I didn't see that online. I need a copy of that. You have a lot of projects. Mr. Davidson, you have you specifically mentioned in your rebuttal to the recall that you're interested in the AB fire lines. Is that correct? That is correct. Up in Rancho Calaveras. And yeah, that's absolutely necessary for a district like this to make sure that happens. Because we have a commitment to the public. You have a commitment to the public to make sure that they are safe when it comes to fire.
Just to remind you, you had 3 minutes that expired a little while ago. So
Oh.
if you could wrap it up, that'd be great.
Okay. Rest promised me some extra time here because.
No, it's,
Okay, I'm wrapping it up now.
Okay.
I'd like to thank you, but I really would like to see a performance evaluation.
okay. Do you need a public comment? Mr. Wyckoff.
Yes, I would like to make a public comment. Good afternoon, directors. So at the recommendation of Director Underhill, it's not on the agenda, but we have had quite a few new staff start here at CCWD. So I thought based on her recommendation, that it would be a good idea to introduce some folks here to you. So we have 4 new employees here with the district, newer. So I'd like to start with Eric Martinez. He's our facilities maintenance tech. Eric, could you please stand?
Hi, Eric, welcome.
Eric?
We have Darren Johnson, who's a new mechanic here.
Darren?
Roy Greer, who's also a mechanic.
Roy?
And Curtis Wainwright, who's on the distribution crew for the Genuine Water System.
Welcome all.
Welcome.
So this is
Glad to you.
actually the first time in a year that we've had a fully staffed mechanical crew. So got a picture yesterday of them working with the construction crew up at White Pines. They do fabulous work. We're happy to have these guys. They're all super talented. So just wanted to take the opportunity to introduce them.
And we do the names one more time.
So Eric Martinez, facilities maintenance, Darren Johnson and Roy Greer are mechanics. And Curtis Wainwright is on our distribution crew for the Genuine Water System. So down in Rancho Valley Springs area.
And
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you coming in. Yep.
Bertha, that was a good idea.
thank you. Thank you very much. And welcome, fellas.
And so we will plan on having some more folks, introducing you to some more folks at the next board meeting.
Awesome. Good idea. Good job, Bertha. Thank you, Damon.
No, you can get back to work now.
Yeah, now get the hell out of here. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
All right, item 3 on our agenda, consent agenda. Got 3A, 3B, 3C, 3D. Oh, I'm sorry, we got public comment? No. We're not going to item 3. We're still on public comment. No.
Ratepayer of 24 years. I'm a ratepayer of 24 years in the Rancho area. My wife and I own a business in Valley Springs in Mr. Ratterman's district. The rate increase is what it is. I was hoping for a 2-year increase, but it's at 5. But I think that the board now has some money to spend on some projects that should have been looked at over the course of the last 20 years. I was an employee with the district for 18.62 years. I was the supervisor in the Rancho area in charge of distribution for about 15 of those years. I've known Bertha, Director Davidson. I just got to meet Director Cicada. I worked with Mr. Nagle. I think he's a fine general manager. I did not have a problem for the short amount of time that I got to work for him. I think Damon Wyckoff is absolutely outstanding. He started out as a water treatment plant operator at Jenny Lynn, went away to Amador and came back, and now he's in the position that he is. I have absolutely no problem with what anybody is paid, from field crew, from a meter reader, which you don't have anymore, all the way up to the top. That is not why I'm here. Why I'm here is there are projects in the past that your field crew have brought to general managers in the past. And if I fumble a little bit, I'm not good at public speaking. You've had 6 general managers over the past 18 years. There was a problem with that. One of your general managers, a very big concern of not only myself and my background before coming to CCWD, was underground, specializing in wastewater facilities and water treatment plants with Anderson Pacific Engineering out of the Bay Area. One of the concerns that myself and your director of operations or utilities at the time had was the number of breaks that we were having in the Rancho area with your asbestos cement pipe. The lifespan of AC pipe, for some of you that don't know, and I'll try to get through this, is 55 to 106 years. You have 5 shelf lives. We went to the general manager who basically told us over a course of a year to stop talking about it. It's okay. We don't have the money to go out and do assessments of that. East Bay Mud is currently replacing 16 miles of asbestos cement pipe in their system every year. They have a company out of Redwood City. I believe the name of the company is Tackford or something to that. They come in at about $5,000 and they will do a mile assessment. And they will tell you if this pipe is going to last, if it's going to fail. The failures that I'm talking about, when you have 11 to 12 failures of AC pipe in a system in a year, not from a backhoe hitting it or anything like that. When that pipe lets loose, the structural integrity is now gone. I think you're reaching your first limit of that pipe. For management, in the past, and Director Davis said, transparency is looking back. I think the time is now, other than for management to say, as they usually did, do whatever it takes, keep water stuffed in the pipe, keep people in water. We have to look forward. You guys have to look forward. Management has to look forward. I think you need to now assess that pipeline. You've put the cart in front of the horse by replacing 1-inch service lines in that area. When you're averaging 350 per year, 1-inch service line breaks, and yes, sometimes it's 3 or 4 breaks on the same line, but you're not looking at the AC pipe. You now have a utility crew, and I'm trying to talk fast, I apologize. You now have a utility crew. I think you need 10 of those utility crews, especially in the Rancho area, to replace every single line from Silver Rapids to the county yard. Then after that's done, you can start with Lockington, because that's going to start popping. You have the AC pipe, asbestos cement pipe, exposed in 5-foot sections. Your utility crew is replacing one service line at a time, and they're putting in another service line right next to it. So the number that I was given is that they've replaced 140 service lines. They haven't. They've replaced half of that, and they've put a new one next to it. That's where you get to your 140. They've replaced 70. While they're there, how a company.
Okay, Randy, could you wrap up? I know you said.
Sure. I think now that you have the money to do a project like that, you should take a look at your overall infrastructure. I also believe that there are mitigating circumstances on why the A to B pipeline and why the tank went dry in 2006 that none of you are aware of, other than you think it's the diameter of the pipe. There were so many factors that led up to that. It was 2006 that it went dry. It hasn't gotten near that point since then. Other things took place after that, restrictions taken out, line extensions were done. There's a lot that happened. If anybody wants to contact me, because we were all working on that, Director Davidson was there. There's a little bit of background other than just the side of the pipe. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you.
The one thing I'm interested in, and maybe we could add to the engineering committee agenda, is the assessment
Yeah.
part of that. And
I was gonna
then
suggest
you
that.
would, if we can add that to the engineering committee, then you can come and we can actually have
Yeah.
a conversation
That
back
would be
and forth.
awesome. Thank you, Randy.
When's the next engineering? Is it?
That was my suggestion, is let's put that on the agenda. We can have a.
Is-
Yeah, I think that might be,
So,
certainly might be valid, but you need more time to.
You know what? After the engineering committee, I'd like an update to the open session. I call into the engineering committee, but I can't ask questions.
Is that
And
engineering?
I'd like to ask, learn a little bit more about it.
Is
Thank
it
you.
on, is it scheduled yet?
Thanks, Randy.
Normally be,
I was gonna tell him when it was scheduled before he left.
well, no, we'll have to follow up with them. We'll let them know.
Okay.
November
November
7th.
7th. Okay, any other public comment?
Yeah, that's gonna have to change. Most likely.
Anyone online, Becca? I don't see anyone. Okay, we're gonna move on to the consent agenda.
You missed my
Okay.
hand here.
Well, go ahead.
I was wondering if we were going to get a subcommittee meeting or some sort of meeting on the metrics effort. I haven't gotten any calls to set up the metrics follow up. We've got some things going on for the tour on the 20th.
Please identify
I'm sorry,
yourself.
This is Francisco de la Cruz.
Oh, okay, go ahead, Francisco.
Yeah, I was waiting to hear from someone from staff to see where we're going next on the metrics discussion. I haven't heard anything, and we've gotten the tour set up, but nothing on metrics yet. And I was wondering if you guys, I know you've gotten a lot of flack with some of the postings that you've done to let us know what's going on. So I'm sorry about the reaction, but there you go.
It's mostly positive reactions. I think there a little bit of negative in there, but yeah, we've been discussing that internally. We're planning to provide an update on that to the next external relations committee meeting, but we could reach out to you and give you an update on that, Francisco.
Michael, that concerns me that we have these wonderful people that want to participate.
Okay, we don't have anything on the agenda
We're
here
not-
to banter.
Anyhow, just make sure you get a hold of them this afternoon and tell them when you're going to get the metrics.
Okay, any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, we're gonna move on to item 3 on our consent agenda is 3A, approval of minutes, 3B, review board of directors timesheets, 3C, ratify claim summary, and 3D, approve the board meeting schedule for November and December.
I'd like to pull 3C, but should I make a motion to approve the others?
Yes,
So make a
please.
motion to approve 3A, B, and D and pull item 3C.
Second,
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Becca, can you take roll?
Director Cicada,
Yes.
Director Thomas.
Yes.
Director Davidson.
Yes.
Director Underhill,
yes,
President Ratterman.
Yes. And Cindy, to you on 3C.
Okay, so I haven't asked, discussion on these items for a while, and because of the rate increase and everything, I'm going to be taking a harder look at some of these things. So and some of them are just comments, and I know the first thing I'm going to say, I'm asking, like I'm looking at on page 1 of the claim summary. I've highlighted like the Arnold Auto Supply. We don't, and it just says repair parts for Ebbets Pass. So I kind of question, which vehicle is it? But my main question, which I think we will talk about a little bit, are we using the purchasing manager?
I think it's the bucket truck.
Oh, somebody's answering me?
No, we need to.
No, the parse.
Can we?
Well, really, the main reason I've highlighted this and several other things throughout this claim summary, wondering if the purchasing agent has made that particular purchase. This item here, is not that much money. But I'm just kind of wondering if that's going, and I think we'll get to that on the agenda. Okay, perfect.
I mean, I think quickly, generally, we try to route purchases through the purchasing agent, but it's not going to be everything. There are still going to be times when staff in the field have to make a purchase.
And also, speak for you, Mike. Mike's here though, but sometimes it'll be, hey, Mike, we need this, this, and this. Hey, go ahead and grab it at Arnold Auto Supply because you're right there.
Got it.
But
And
we'll-
that's what I'm questioning. I mean, I'm going to hear the whole presentation of how they work, but ultimately we're doing this to make better purchases, less money, bulk perhaps or something. Okay, so on the same page, Amy Everett, there's a claim settlement. Can I ask what that was or no?
Yes, I do have the details on that.
because I asked that also.
So,
Yes. She had a failure of a high pressure pump on her side of the meter. It was caused by some debris from our Heather tank when they were doing some cleaning. The debris went through the meter and damaged her high pressure pump. So we had to replace that.
okay, thank you. And then here's another one that we'll talk about, Mike. So like when I'm looking at the Brandon tire, front tires for a vehicle, is that a purchased order item or you just send somebody? And I think for tires, when they're $1,700 for 2, it's probably a big truck or something.
that's,
But I just want to make sure that, the purchasing agent is looking for the good pricing, okay? So,
and that is a new Freightliner.
okay. So here comes some for you, Jeff. Page
Yes, ma'am.
2. The data pros, the UB statement processing, 723 and additional mailer, $37,800. Is that what it says? 17. So is that a monthly fee for somebody processing our statements?
So
It's
you're
on
looking at
page-
yes, no, that was due to the mailing of the Prop 218 notices.
Okay, so that's 218.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hmm.
What? Question on that?
Data pros,
It was split into 2, actually.
Yeah.
So you see the dollar amount but we also,
That's
the post.
And
that's
218.
billing and 218.
Yeah, billing into.
So how much would you say is billing each month cost?
about, I want to say about $8,000.
Okay, and if somebody interrupts, go for it, but I'm not done.
Something's rattling around here about data pros, we were all biting our fingernails because we didn't know where those mailers were. And then we had somebody else, a local, third-party, mailer organization came to our rescue and sent something else. My question is, have we looked closely at data pros? Are they the best? Are we getting the best deal?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that review is still underway. We used a different service for the second notice that was sent out for the postcard. We did get the confirmation we needed from Data Pros that the notice was mailed on time.
And yes, we are we are reviewing our billing vendor. Meaning Data Pros, and seeing what's out there as an option for
Okay.
ongoing monthly billing.
When you guys are reviewing, when you say, okay, we're going to do a review, do you set a time limit for having an answer?
We try, but there's honestly, there's a lot of still catch up work after the rate study. So we've got a lot of items. I would say probably looking at November when we'll have that information available to us.
Can I continue?
Yeah.
Good. All right, so still on the same page, the DLT solutions, there's two of them there for AutoCAD and AutoCAD mechanics. So I'm familiar with AutoCAD, but my question is, and I think I brought this up as far as, ways to potentially save money for $6,500. Is that just one person? And is that for an annual fee?
That's an annual fee, and it is not just for one person.
How many users do we have?
I'd have to dive into
Okay.
that to find out
Well,
the number.
that's important for me to know, because
Sure.
I know I always see like maintenance contracts for all this stuff, and we could bring that up in the
Sure.
finance, or you could just let me know. But I want to see that we have, that money's being divvied up. We're not paying $6,000 for, each person.
Understood.
And the mechanics one, that's okay. That's an annual as well.
Yes.
Okay. And I highlighted the vehicle lease, but I'm just gonna let that go. Unless somebody wants to tell me how many vehicles that is for 22,000 a month.
I can get you that number.
I just think that's one thing that we should be holding back on just with this rate study increase, but
But these are
I know.
existing leases.
okay.
It's not new leases.
Okay, perfect. All right, so another one on same page, global pay, global payments. What are those?
Those are part-
12,000, 2,700. What are those for? Global payment?
Those are the payments we do for a combination of our online payments, credit cards, all that kind of, those items that we are still having to pay, but we get reimbursed. We pay for them, but then there's dollars coming in to offset that you don't see.
And is the offset dollar for dollar, or there's fees in here as well? So we're only getting, 80% or something.
I'd have to get the exact numbers, but we're pretty darn close to recovering all our fees.
Okay. And then the GovInvest Managed Services and annual, what is that? What do they do? I mean, I know what, anyhow, just what are we getting for that
GovInvest is
$3,500?
does a couple things for us. They perform our work through our retiree health program, our assessments for that, our analysis, but they also provide us with I want to say an HR software package, just for simplistic purposes. One that we can use to help track our budget and budget for our costs for payroll, including, it's something that I used to do on a spreadsheet every year for budgeting, where you'd have to go in and dive in each individual employee, see where they are on step increases, where they are within their pay range, and when they're eligible for step increases. They have a system that they built for us, and we can just go ahead and put in the parameters, and it spits out how much it's going to cost that employee for salaries and benefits.
Labor cost modeling.
Thank you.
There we go.
And so this is an annual fee in case you need
Yes.
them, since you
Yeah.
own that program. Okay, thank you. All right, the next page, which looks like it says 4 of 7.
Mhm.
So, JM Wilson, patch paving at Copper Cove. How come we didn't use our paver, Damon? That one that we bought?
Yeah, so these are, we can have anywhere from 10 to 50 patch paves that need to be completed in a different service area at any one time. So if we have the paver with the utility crew in Rancho, it's more cost effective to knock them out with, an outside entity like this. And they can
At
go-
$10,000?
Yeah, they can, yes, they can knock them out much quicker than we can because not only is that utility crew trying to replace services, they're also trying to pave those services. And so the county is really kind of focused on the work that they're doing. But meanwhile, we have distribution crews in all of our service areas poking holes in the ground and putting temporary, what we call cutback, temporary asphalt back. And if we don't repave those in a timely manner, then we get sideways with the county. And so then the county starts to bill us.
So when do you use our paver and the utility crew uses the paver?
Generally, the utility crew uses the paver, but if we have an opportunity to make use of our paver in any capacity, we will. But there's probably about 4 different work efforts associated with pipe in the ground going on at any one time. And so the amount of actual paving that we have to do is significant. We can't get it all done just with our paver.
Damon, when you say that when we do our work, we leave some cutback material that an organization like Jim Wilson has to come in and remove that and compact the gravel below it and then put in bona fide paving material. And it might be 5 or 10 different places in Copper Cove that they're doing that on to justify this $10,000 fee.
Yeah, I believe we might get compaction before we bring those guys in though, correct me. Yeah, so we're gonna secure the compaction with the county. We're gonna coordinate all that first. And then we're gonna put the cut back down. Yeah, so when he comes back and paves, this could be, and I don't have the number, but this could be 50 patches. It all kind of depends on.
But do they have to take a shovel and remove the cutback and put in
Yeah.
asphalt?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe where it says patch paving, you can put on there that you did 50 patches and then 10,000 wouldn't sound so.
Yeah, we can
bad.
give you a breakdown. Just this morning, we had a meeting with County Public Works. So this is kind of a continual conversation that we have with county. So not only do we have an emergency encroachment permit and then specific job encroachment permits, and then the utility crew works under an encroachment permit, but we're also continually talking back and forth about cutback. So like if for example, the utility crew is going to come through a street in Rancho Calaveras next week, and the county is like, look, you've had temporary patches on 3 different holes for the past 4 months. Well, we're going to talk about those in detail and say, hey, we're not going to pave those because the utility crews come through next week.
Gotcha.
So it's this kind of dynamic, right? And so some that are like, we're not going to get to so-and-so street in Copperopolis for another 8 months or another 1.5 years or indefinitely, we're going to go ahead and get those paved.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Director Cicada?
Uh-huh.
Mark just gave me a note, on those AutoCAD,
Uh-huh.
that's 5 seats,
Oh.
4 in engineering, 1 for the mechanics.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's it. All right, still on the same page, Joshua Miller for landscaping services. That's this area here. Is that a monthly fee?
That was, I believe, a one-time
Quarterly?
fee coming in to clean up because we haven't had landscaping done here in a number of years. If you
Okay.
notice, there's been a lot of work. around
That looks nice.
That's the sprinkler system and
Okay.
irrigation system shows how to use it.
Do we have somebody that usually does the maintenance? Is that our inside maintenance person, does the outside as well?
Correct.
Okay.
Facilities maintenance. Eric generally handles maintenance.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
But it
right,
was
so that was a one-time thing.
one-time thing
Perfect.
to catch up, yes.
All right, the Kennedy Jenks Consultants disinfection byproducts root cause analysis. Why was that performed for $7,000?
So the root cause analysis is related to the notice of violation we got for the Ebbets Pass water system for disinfection byproducts. It's been ongoing for 2-3 years now, probably. And so KJ, we contracted with Kenny Jenks to help us because they have some unique qualifications in that area to help us try to figure out what the root cause of that problem is and what solutions
Okay.
are to
So are
it.
the NOVs discussed pretty much just in engineering? Because I don't know if I've ever heard of us having any NOVs.
We have talked about them in engineering. It's been a while since we talked about them.
How many do we
With
have
our
ongoing?
disinfectant
Just this one?
byproduct, just that one.
Okay.
And the disinfectant
Good.
byproduct levels are back down below the MCL.
Yeah.
And they have been for some time, but
And
it's still
this
an
is-
ongoing process of figuring out. It's a very complicated cause. And so there's, there's a lot of different levers that we can pull to try to address it, but we want to try to do it methodically and make sure that we're figuring out what a long-term solution would be.
Okay.
And there's other agencies that have gone through this before. It's part of the reason we went with KJ's because of
Well-
some unique experience that they have, but there's other agencies that are experiencing the same thing that we've been talking to about this as well.
What was the total contract with KJ?
50,000.
Somewhere around there.
Carried over.
Are they completed yet? Is the project
Yeah,
done now?
We're done. So we still have some work to do, and there's more than likely going to be some follow-up meetings with KJ in terms of, overall
Okay.
assessments of our system and hydraulic modeling, all that work's been completed.
Okay, so was this the last payment to them satisfying that contract with
I
KJ?
believe it would be. It's not. Yeah, we're gonna have one.
Okay. All right, same page, right below that, KW Emerson, we paid pretty much on this. We paid the 947 and then the 68,000. I wonder if it would be helpful for board members to have, like we have in the finance committee, what percentage complete of each job, of each CIP. And so like on this one, where are we at percentage wise complete on there? In the finance meeting we have, here's the total project. Here's what we budgeted. Here's how much we spent. And here's how much we have left. And it does give you a completion of the project.
Right, and that same packet for Finance Committee goes to all board members. So they see that in addition to having the claim summary. I don't know if it may be trying to put too much information on the claim summary, but I think between the Engineering Committee and the Finance Committee budget status reports, I think we have those covered.
This is 100% funded this is pass through money.
Yeah, I agree, but it's still, I think at the last finance committee, which covered through June, it was at 48%. Was that right? I have my paperwork. I could look, but
It's a little over half.
okay. But I was gonna say this was through June and here we are October
Right.
through September anyway. So
Jeff, excuse my interrupting, but I made the same observation here that, we're using this landscape format here, and there's seldom a case where you go all the way over to here. I would like to suggest that we consider having not each and every item, but on these large ticket items, where you got $1 million, to one vendor, it focuses your attention as you're looking at this. What would be the difficulty just adding one other column over here, then header up here that says % complete, and just pop it right under.
Or even on just those lines, we just put that in parentheses.
Yeah.
right.
We could do that. Just for the CIPs.
Here and put 48% or whatever it is.
All right, but I don't think that's. We heard 100 people here at a recent meeting saying that they don't have enough information on our activities. I don't think that there's any danger in giving them more information than.
No,
than
we
they
can do
have.
that.
So, okay.
Cool.
Yes, we can, yes.
Yeah, so any of the construction projects, that might be nice to have that.
Yeah, those that are noted with in parentheses CIPs.
Okay. The next page 5, and Damon, I'm just gonna make the comment, the paste supply, was that part of a PO system purchase? You don't have to answer, but just keep that in mind. On the same page still, the mail equipment lease. Waiting, is that how I say that? The leasing, is that monthly? And does that include postage? It was $1,178.
The
Just below the paste supply
quadrant,
quadrant, is that it?
is that what you're looking at?
Ah,
Mail
yes,
equipment
I
lease?
can't read. Yes.
And then see, the postage is separate. It's right above it. We pay postage.
Oh,
separate.
there it is.
Yeah.
So 1,178 is what we pay to use their machine. Does it have any supplies?
No, and I believe that's a quarterly payment. So I'll
Okay.
double check that, but it's
Okay.
not a monthly payment.
Okay. All right, page 6, same thing, and you don't have to answer it today, but, I'm looking at these, well, this one, maybe I should. So the Adobe Acrobat Pro, I think it's a great program. It was only $239, but, is that an annual fee or did you purchase that? Which hopefully you purchased it. We don't have to pay annual.
Sure.
And
that-
for how
yeah.
many users are
And,
there?
and that's an annual fee. We're looking at that because it should be all rolled in through IT. So that's a one-off that we're
Okay.
investigating.
Yeah,
and
it's a
making
great
sure that it's-
program.
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
We use
I
it
have it.
extensively.
Yeah. All right, same page, and this is, I think I know the answer, but you know, for the Comcast, what are we getting from Comcast? Internet service? Okay,
Yes.
all right,
What do we get from Caltel?
radio? Is that right?
Probably same stuff, just different location.
Different locations, I think, yeah.
Okay.
And then, oh, go ahead.
So that would be like for the telephones in the wastewater treatment plant, and you would have Caltel providing that telephone service in Jenny Lind as well.
I double check, yes.
Okay. That just seems a little high.
Same page still, the IT training. Who did that training and what was the training? $2,398?
I need to double check that.
Okay, you can report that in the finance for me if you want. And right below that, we have MDM, Adobe, Microsoft Password Manager, $4,316 and change.
That's
So-
done through IT for district-wide. So that's where the one other Adobe was a one-off, and we're trying to make sure that everything's all part of that
Is
agreement.
that an annual fee?
Yes.
Okay. And the last one on that page, the web developer, 20 hours. Are we having somebody do some web training? So Rebecca doesn't have to do the web?
So there's some website work that we can do in-house, and then there's some that we have to have a third party do. And so we have an agreement with that entity to do the kind of the on-call work that when we need something that we can't do in-house, they're available to do it.
And that was 20 hours worth, so that's
Yes.
pretty good.
But can I jump in with a
Sure.
short question on US Bank? What is what are they, so we have our credit
Credit
cards?
cards,
there?
that's our Cal cards.
So is this the proper way that this should be reported to us as an expenditure through US, it's a payment to US Bank? Or are they all payments to US Bank?
They're all payments to US Bank. They are the ones that we have our Cal cards through, credit cards through.
That we get
So-
rebates on.
Yeah, and so this is how it's just listed. It could be listed as credit card, Cal card, or whatever, but this is how it comes in, and then we reconcile them, and the employees put down the description, we double check the descriptions.
Okay.
What, since I said rebate, what is that quarterly rebate approximately now that you're using it? Any idea off the top of your head?
I'd have to research that and get into that.
Maybe at the finance
Yeah.
committee?
Yes,
And it's got to be pretty decent, I would imagine.
I believe it was somewhere between 1% and 2%, somewhere in that
Yeah.
neighborhood.
Well, I'm wondering what the dollar amount is.
Yes,
Yeah, okay. And then the last page,
Air miles?
yeah, no, this is actually, we get a check.
Okay.
And on the last page, Damon, another one, the USA Blue Book, we'll talk about that. However, I do want to make a comment, and maybe this is where the admin or the purchasing manager can come in. When MSD used to buy from there, the product's really cheap, but the shipping is really expensive. So have you guys looked in that? Is it still cheaper to buy from there? Just, you can. Yeah. And then, the last thing is on the last item on this page, the WSP USA Environment Infrastructure for the Local Hazard Mitigation. I was surprised, I sat in on that meeting. I just, happened to get the notice a couple hours before. And I'm wondering why we're not doing that ourselves. You know, we all participated in it. We have the plan and you only have certain things to update. And I'm just wondering why we had to spend $6,500 when perhaps staff could have done it.
We are doing a lot of it in-house. We brought them in for their expertise to help manage that process and make sure we hit all the right boxes that we have to check so that it has a better, we want to make sure it passes the FEMA test on the first try.
Yeah.
So we felt like we needed to, augment staff with their consulting assistance, but we are keeping that to a minimum by doing as much as we can in-house.
I still think it's a lot. And when I was listening to that meeting, I'd asked the question, well, what was different this time? Was there certain requirements added to this update that we didn't have before? Therefore, we had to have this consultant. And the other thing I wanted to ask that maybe we could talk about later is I would like to agendize this. Why do we have our own LHMP instead of partnering with the county?
Sure.
Because to save money instead of doing our own each time.
Sure.
Okay, that was it. That wasn't that bad, Jack.
Looking for a motion.
I'll make a move.
I have one question.
Oh.
Remaining. On this Reach 3 USDA loan, it would be helpful to me if we had the information in parentheses in that large cell about these payments go through, 2027 or what?
Sure.
When is it the due date or the
Yep.
completion?
USDA are generally 40-year loans,
40?
40. However, we do have the ability to pay down early or pay them off early, but USDA are generally 40-year. The loans we take out through banks are 20-year.
And is that,
Well, then we need some clarification on that, because if it's $75,000 a month for 40 years.
No, it's not. Yeah. Okay.
Annual.
We will, I think what would be helpful is if just a suggestion is perhaps to create either in finance committee or part of this, or maybe to the full board, a review of all our long-term debt obligations so that we can understand what they are, the term from them. It could be part of the finance committee. I could make an item here. The only thing with this is some of our loans with the banks, we only make 2 payments a year. One in September, generally one in March, principal and interest one, interest in the other. So you're only going to see that twice a year. Perhaps if we put something else in another report that's available to you, you can see it on a monthly basis where we
so
stand.
that simple information on that same line would be helpful
Yeah.
here. So you're not having to refer to a second document.
Yeah, we could do that as well, but we could figure something else out.
You could expand because we do get in the finance committee or in your report, you
Mhm.
do give us those figures.
We do have
So
the
you could
overall.
expand on that report.
Yeah,
rather
so
than
that's what I
create-
was thinking about.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
rather than create another one, just expand on that one.
And adding to that, on those loans that you say that you only pay twice a year, does that save us money, or could we pay monthly and pay less interest?
No, actually,
Sometimes
if you
it's a
pay-
requirement to do it.
Right,
only
and
2 times
some,
a year.
the banks look at it as that's their standard format of paying it twice a year.
Okay,
Now, you do have prepayment options, but generally it's not until year 7.
okay.
Otherwise, you get penalized for that.
And if we ever do have a discussion, that'd be kind of nice to revisit that. Is it time to pay more often to save some interest?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
And we have paid loans off early.
Yes, we have.
And that was great.
Okay, I would like to move that we approve item 3C.
I'll second.
I thought we
got a
already,
motion
I
and a
thought we
second.
already
Okay,
did
Can you
it.
take roll, please?
Director
Okay.
Cicada,
Yes.
Director Thomas.
Yes.
Director Davidson,
Yes,
Director Underhill,
Yes.
President Radman.
Yes.
just a quick comment. Is that looked at in the finance committee? Is that an agenda item? Because it seems like most of those questions can be answered in the finance committee setting. Or if they have questions, they can contact you a day or two before.
Which
Get
is
your
what I
answers.
did, Jeff.
Yes.
I,
Yes, and we do go over a lot of this in finance committee, but it's the CIP, the projects and so forth. And all that's available on a monthly report.
But you're also available the day before meeting if people have questions.
That is correct.
But you
Well,
know,
let me respond to that. I know we have been encouraged, the entire length of time that I've been on the board, and I've tried as much as I can to call in advance to get these answers. But we had to change the verbiage on this approval, because it says board members have resolved questions, issues, and concerns by consultation with district staff during said meeting. I mean, we were telling people that we're resolving unanswered questions here at this meeting. And I don't have time always to call in advance.
Well, I'm not saying you have to do it every time, but I mean, we went through 30 items.
well, with everything we just went through, with the rate study and 152 people making comments, they may have these same questions. And maybe they're listening, maybe they're not. But I think it shows the transparency that we are doing what we're supposed to do. And maybe if one person said, oh, I had that question, then I think we did our job.
I hope many people had that question, but I don't know that they did. Anyway, that's just my comment.
And, we're happy to do it either way. We're available in between meetings or during meetings. I think it is helpful to give us a heads up on what items there are questions about so that we can make sure we have an answer.
Yeah, because I mean, half the things Jeff didn't even have, he's like, well, I'll have to go look at that.
That would be
Can't
very
remember
helpful.
everything,
Director Cicada, if you are gonna have this many questions going forward, because we had a public rate hearing, if you would give Jeff a heads up, that so we're not fumbling.
Okay.
I mean, no one likes surprises. No one likes surprises up here. Our staff certainly doesn't like surprises, but that would be very, very helpful if you're gonna have, I mean, at least, the 20 questions that you have or questioning items that you allow him to, a heads up what your items are. That's quickly done a day before or 3 or 4 days before when you receive the,
Okay.
but
That
that
was
would
give them an
be,
email. That way at least they have the answers,
Gotcha.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
You're welcome.
We have voted on this?
yeah,
Okay, so we're moving on to, item 4A. Director Russ Thomas, you're up.
My goodness.
We rarely come to the dais on item.
Where is the drum roll?
Or are you gonna do your item from here?
Yeah.
From your seat?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
There was an event that took place in Copperopolis a couple of weeks ago now, called the State of the County. And I was the only board member that took the time to go there. You could have built for another meeting if you said.
No, it sounds like people are concerned.
Are you getting enough for this little construction project you got going?
I don't know, man.
But anyway, all kidding aside, I did sit in on that, and our general manager made a very, very comprehensive, detailed explanation about what CCWD is all about, and it just struck me as being so concise and totally, I don't know, it's, I don't know how I could have done that kind of report in 2 days, and he did it in 10 minutes. And I asked if we could show it here, this little 10-minute video, and you may get some surprises about what the depth and the complexity of this organization. I
Do you
just,
think it was done prepared statement or was it just off the?
well, it was very well prepared. When I told him I wanted to do this, he said, "Oh, I don't know, I don't want to do this, but it needs to be shown." And hopefully, there'll be people that will view this, or we'll have it on the website, hopefully. And I'll make some comments afterwards, and hope that you'll enjoy watching.
We
that.
have?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's da-da-da-da-da.
You dim the lights, get some popcorn.
This is when I used to fall asleep in the back room when I was in 2nd grade. Movie time.
Movie time.
So this was his actual
All right,
performance.
next up is Mike Winkler, Calaveras County Water District General Manager.
What's the date on this presentation?
3 weeks ago.
Thank you very
Okay.
much. Oops. I'm gonna set this down here. All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me. I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event and Adventist Health. And it's just, yeah, it's a pleasure to be here and I appreciate the opportunity. I'm not here to talk about water rates. I'm really proud of the work that CCWD has done on that front over the last year, but I'm here to talk about CCWD's role in the success of Calaveras County. And I do want to briefly talk about the affordability crisis that is affecting all of our communities, whether it's utility bills, property insurance, gas, groceries, or just everyday supplies. It's getting harder and harder for a lot of people to keep up with cost increases. This is impacting businesses in Calaveras County, but most especially our low-income residents. And so I think it's on us, public agencies, to work with business groups, nonprofit organizations, and everybody that has a role in that process to do a better job of connecting people with any assistance that's available and to advocate for more effective assistance, connecting people with resources to the people who are in need. CCWD is absolutely committed to being a part of that effort. I think a good way to talk about CCWD's role in the state of the county is to put it in the context of the services that we provide. Water and wastewater services are the core functions that CCWD provides to our communities. Of the 45,000 people in Calaveras County, we directly serve about 30,000. We have 6 separate water service areas and 13 separate wastewater service areas that are spread throughout the county, which presents very difficult operational challenges. Fortunately for us, we have phenomenal staff who are available 24/7, 365, regardless of the conditions, to make sure that the water and wastewater services our communities depend on and the fire suppression that our communities depend on is available. And I just can't say enough about the dedication of the CCWD staff. We saw it this winter is probably the best example. 19 atmospheric rivers, I think, and almost no interruptions in water and wastewater service. Most of our infrastructure is old, though, and it's not getting any younger. We have a long list of infrastructure projects that need to be completed, and the cost of those projects has increased exponentially in recent years. We have a very successful track record of bringing in grant funds and other sources of infrastructure funding, but there is a huge gap between the need and what the resources that we have. So there's still a big shortfall that we need to address. We need to find other ways to address those infrastructure issues. So that's when you think about the state of the county and CCWD's role in the county, that's my biggest concern. When it comes to making sure CCWD continues to provide the critical services that our communities depend on and that is necessary for any new development or growth, we have to live up to that challenge, and the resources are not up to the cost at this point. So that's my biggest concern when it comes to CCWD's ability to continue to serve our communities. CCWD also has county-wide water resources planning jurisdiction, and this is a much less visible component of what we do, but it's no less important. It's actually a big part of the reason CCWD exists. So back in 1946, a group of citizens got together because they had just seen what East Bay Mud did on the McCollum with very little benefit to in-county residents. And they didn't want that to happen on the Stanislaus. So they put the formation of a county-wide water district on the ballot. It passed with 93% of the county voters voting in favor for it. And then they immediately got to work on filing for water rights and starting the development of the North Fork Stanislaus Hydroelectric Project. And we benefit today greatly from the foresight that that generation had. And it's a story I think I need to do a better job of telling that story. The history of CCWD is really foundational to Calaveras County. We now manage water resources from the valley floor, where we overlie a critically overdrafted groundwater basin, to the headwaters of the 3 watersheds that we're blessed to have here in Calaveras County: the McCollum, the Calaveras River, and the Stanislaus River. It's a complex water portfolio, but maintaining local control over water resources has always been a high priority for Calaveras County. And we're very fortunate to have strong local partnerships with other water agencies. We're not the only water agency in town, as all of you know. And when I first moved to Calaveras County a little more than 10 years ago, it was rough. There was no trust between the water agencies, and we weren't working well together. And that has gradually changed over time for a lot of different reasons. But we work really well together now. We have really close partnerships with other local water agencies. We support each other, we share resources, we share information, and that's a big benefit for the county, because it's just a waste of resources if local agencies are fighting together when really our job is to serve the community. So I'm very pleased to report that the water agencies in Calaveras County are, I think, doing a great job of working well together. We're also the owner and the FERC licensee for 2 hydropower projects, New Hogan and the North Fork Stanislaus project. We're in the hydropower business for 2 reasons. One is for the water supply reliability that it provides, and also for the revenue that we generate from those projects. The North Fork project is by far the largest and the most complex of the 2. The FERC relicensing process is an enormous effort. It's probably, our licenses on both of those projects expire in 2032, which sounds like a long ways away, but in the FERC relicensing world, it's right around the corner. So we're already starting work on the relicensing effort, especially on the North Fork project, because of how complex of a project that is. It's also, we're in the midst of really critical contract negotiations to renegotiate the relationships we have on the North Fork project, and with the objective of making sure that we maximize the local benefit from that project. It's one of, we have a lot of high priorities at CCWD, but that's one of the highest because it has a huge impact on Calaveras County for the long term. There's a lot at stake. It's a very complex negotiation, and the next license term could extend out to 2082, which is hard to fathom. But we need to make sure over these next 10 years that we've positioned CCWD and Calaveras County to get as much benefit out of that project as possible. And it's our project, it's our water resources. And so we have a lot of leverage in that negotiation in that respect, but it's also just critical that we make sure that we retain as much local benefit as possible. So you'll be hearing a lot more about hydropower relicensing in the coming years. Utica is also going through it. Calaveras Public Utilities District. Somehow all of the FERC licenses in Calaveras County lined up to expire around the same time. So early 2030s is going to be a very interesting time in the hydropower industry in Calaveras County. One last aspect of CCWD that I'd like to briefly touch on is, like many mountain county water agencies, we've been increasingly active in the forest management realm to protect our watersheds and to decrease the risk of severe wildfire to our communities and to our critical infrastructure. We're involved in fuel thinning projects in all 3 of our watersheds, but I want to highlight the biomass power project that we hope will start construction later this year in West Point on CCWD property. It's a phenomenal project. I could spend a lot of time talking about it, but I'll get red carded, and as a youth soccer coach, I wouldn't be able to go back to practice later and admit that to my team. But the project is really exciting. There's a really impressive local volunteer effort that deserves some sort of perseverance award for all that they went through to get the entitlements to develop that project. It's on, as I mentioned, it's on CCWD property, and it's located right next to our wastewater treatment plant up there. And what we've realized in working with the developer over time is just how many benefits there are to co-locating biomass power project with water infrastructure, because it can help reduce CCWD's electricity costs. We can divert our biosolids, which we now truck to the Bay Area, because that's the closest landfill that will take them. We can divert those biosolids to the biomass power plant. And we generate lease revenue off the projects, as I mentioned, at CCWD property. So it'll help us reduce our costs. It'll help generate some revenue for CCWD. We're going to provide recycled water to the project to offset their water consumption impacts. There's just so many different layers of benefits to a project like this, in addition to the sustained source of funding that it'll provide for forest management, fuel thinning projects around a very a severe fire risk area. So it's just the layers go on and on. And from the business perspective, the economic boost of having really, a new project like that in West Point with highly skilled labor, it's going to create new jobs. It's going to be an economic boost for the community as well. So in working with the developer on this over the last few years, we think this should be a model that should be replicated throughout the Sierras. We're already looking at a second project potentially in Arnold. So I'm keeping my remarks brief today, but I hope what I wanted to convey is just how integral the services that CCWD provides are to Calaveras County's communities. But we tend to operate in the background, and most of what we do is not highly visible. But it's critically important, that the fire hydrant has fire pressure behind it when the fire truck pulls up, that the communities that we serve have water and wastewater services, and that we do our work in protecting the water resources of Calaveras County. And so with that, I'll leave it at that. Thank you guys again for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Very nice job.
Okay, I'm touched that people appreciate what our general manager did there. I think that many of us have heard a lot of that before, but never in one 10-minute segment. I think that where I'd like to go from here going forward is I'd like to see this posted on our website. And I'm visualizing you as president of this organization giving a brief explanation, but if our citizens of the county want to know more about what CCWD does and the intricacy and complexity of our operation, this may explain why we need 70+ employees, why we're here, what we're doing for you. But I think that we owe it to ourselves to beat our own drum a little bit, and this is a very, very good way to do that.
Well, I'll get in touch with our production crew here at CCWD and see if I can come up with some words to introduce that. That I will that's a great idea, and I would like to see this on our what our general manager is doing out in our community, and that is a very nice recap, Michael. Of they called you Mike. I don't know. Besides that, it was very good.
You answered both. Yeah. Can I make one statement? I have been to the state of the county presentation before, and yes, it's very thorough of all the departments and all the big hitters, and you get a good audience. And what was the attendance there?
Not as big as some of the ones I've been to in the past when they do it here, but there was 100 people there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's good. Easily 100.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. It's a very well organized event.
What list do you have to be on?
The chamber, it's the Chamber of Commerce. They do a
Uh-huh.
great job.
Yeah.
But even we had these new employees here. I think it would be beneficial for them to see it on the website and just see that.
It's a great recap of what we do.
Yeah.
I mean, that and all the things that we do and how deeply we are entrenched in this county,
Mm-hmm.
and it is in the background. I think it was well done.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Very good.
Okay, and Russ, we'll make sure that happens.
Okay. Thank you.
Item 4B, updated district operations-based purchasing agent efforts and warehousing and heavy-duty fleet. Dave,
All of the above. Thank you, directors. So this is, we've talked about having an opportunity here to review how changes in the recent past have allowed the district to kind of stretch our dollars even further and to optimize expenditures while at the same time not compromising the reliability and the operational integrity of our water and wastewater systems. So this, I hope to give you some additional information that will allay any concerns that you might have or reaffirm kind of your understanding of how we're doing that. And so that's what the goal of this presentation is. And wanted to start off with, make sure this thing will move. All right, just to review the mission behind you. So really this operations ties into the last part of the statement, which is to provide safe and reliable, cost-effective services to our community. So top of mind is always, can we do it cost-effectively? Is there a cheaper way to do it? Is there another way to skin the cat? And it's not, doesn't happen in a vacuum. Mike and I talk continually. We talk, Pat, Jesse, myself, Mike, all of our folks in one way, shape, or another. We all are communicating real time about all different things. And a lot of what that boils down to is failures. How quickly can we replace it? How much does it cost? And where can we get it? So, you guys know this already, but just really to impress upon you that, we are kind of, to follow Michael up a little bit, 6 public water systems, 13, hopefully 12 soon wastewater systems, and all of the infrastructure that's associated with that. So we're not only talking about trucks and heavy equipment, we're also talking about hand tools, we're talking about pole saws, and just, the paper stretchers that you might find out there in the drawer. We might send the new person to go, find, or, the dirt oiler, we might ask somebody to go locate throughout the county. So we've got 3 different watersheds. We're serving all kinds of different needs. And so let's just kind of take a step back. So what was going on prior to the purchasing agent? So we had field supervisors that were responsible for purchases out in the field. So not only were you walking into your office in the warehouse in the morning and looking at the leak board, but you're also taking a phone call from a vendor about, how many curb stops do you need and when do you want them delivered? And so it's really not providing you as a supervisor the time or the ability to do both effectively. So you're trying to stretch your ability to do things. And invariably what happens is, oh, you can get me that tomorrow? Great. You can get me that a day after tomorrow, but I need it tomorrow. So I'm not even worried about price. And so what we're really able to do is kind of refine and kind of refocus the district's objective by repurposing a vacant electrical position in 2019 to that of a purchasing agent who then is kind of charged with asking those questions, making those determinations. So prior to Mike coming on board, the purchasing agent coming on board, we didn't have really much compliance with the purchasing policy. And I'll be candid with you, that's still a challenge. We're still working through that, compliance with the purchasing policy, which is, between X dollar amounts, have you received 3 quotes? Beyond X dollar amounts, where are your quotes? Or below X dollar amount, have you looked for ways, cheaper options? Is there another way to skin the cat? So that's always happening. And then we didn't have a centralized warehouse. So we're delivering material and equipment all over creation, and we're not able to store it properly. We're not able to inventory it accurately. So that ends up invariably leading to cost overruns and basically unnecessary purchases. And so right out of the gate, with the creation of the position and upon putting Mike in that position, we directed all vendors to the purchasing agent. We worked to re-educate staff on the purchasing policy. We also brought in the credit card program, and we actually sat down with staff. And prior to Jeff's return, we had the finance director sit down with staff and educate them on the do's and don'ts of operating or working with a credit card, and then sign a document stating that they participated in that training. And so we implemented the credit cards, and we really highlighted vendor competition. And so the ways we were able to benefit from this is reduce costs, So this was a huge problem in some of our warehouses is automatic restocking from vendors. So, you know, the yard's open, the vendor comes in, he feels comfortable. Hey, by the way, I just put 10 of those on your shelf and I hit the road. So, you know, thank me later. You know, that happened a lot. So we directed all of that correspondence to Mike. And we work to ensure effective review of larger purchases. And this is one thing that Michael's really great about. So not only is it, you know, budgeted, and then it's discussed in a board agenda item before you, Mike will then develop a PO with a description of the why, and then it goes to Michael for final review. So we're really trying to make sure that the clarity is crystal clear on these work efforts. And so some of these examples of savings, and these are just kind of per item examples. We can talk about operational changes as well, but transducers, Mike is able to find those for $200 cheaper per than what we were previously buying them for. And if you can imagine the 20 plus tanks throughout the county, innumerable amount of lift stations, we go through transducers like, you know, nobody's business. Valves, $1,000 each reduction in cost. Septic tank pumps, we have almost, or a little over actually, 700 septic tanks. So when these pumps go out, they can be expensive. Ready clamps, so this is an interesting one. So, and it's similar to kind of the warehouse discussion about implementing the construction of the warehouse. When you achieve, or a capital project, when you achieve a cost per item that is so ridiculously cheap, it's in your best interest to take advantage of that purchase. And so with repair clamps, 1x3 repair clamps, I don't think a meeting goes by where we don't talk about service lateral leaks. Michael's able to purchase a significant amount of those at a very low cost that actually allowed us to live through, if you will, some of the super expensive periods where these material increases were just skyrocketing, because we were able to stockpile when it's cheap and then not buy anything when it's expensive. So this is also exhibited in the Senders market expenditures. So we have annual expenditures with Senders. So those are down 10K right out of the gate. And then really what's great about Fastenal, and there's some pictures of that in the report here. Let me see. There's this National Association of State Procurement Officials. And so Fastenal works with the state procurement officials to achieve savings on routinely purchased items. Well, we get to take advantage of that. So we get paint, marking paint, and other components that we have in Fastenal vending machines at a cheaper price. And so what happens when you walk into the warehouse is you have every person in operations has basically a credit card, and they scan that under the Fastenal machine, and it says, oh, Damon Wyckoff is here and he wants to buy a grinding wheel. Punch in the grinding wheel code, and then Mike will get a printout at the end of the month, I believe, that says, so it says Damon bought a grinding wheel. Hey, Damon, what'd you buy a grinding wheel? Like the other day, we were conducting tours. I went in there and 10 pair of protective glasses, you know, and so we're able to account for these purchases in real time, much more quickly than we had in the past.
And there's a vending machine that does that?
Yeah, I'll show you. I think I have a pic here. And so this is kind of in the warehouse, and I'll show you. I'll give you broader pictures of kind of how the warehouse is operating, but you can see that. But so these are some of the kind of the work effort related. So like this is Mike's job, you know, request quotes like we talked about for routinely purchased items. So like when you look at the claim summary and you see Pace, and you might see Granger, you might see all of these different vendors. Well, a lot of times what's happening is we're agnostic. We're gonna jump around to whoever's got the cheapest price. So if we're mid-year and all of a sudden we find, hey, we were working with Ferguson, and all of a sudden now we see that this is cheaper over here at Pace, we're gonna move. And so you're gonna see variability within the claim summary relative to what we can get and how cheaply we can get. So one of the things, I don't think it was really discussed when we were in the midst of COVID, because we were in the midst of COVID, everybody was remote. But Mike was able to work with admin services director and get 50K reimbursement and COVID relief for a disinfection material. So we purchased masks, we purchased hand sanitizer, we got paid back for that. We do have various metrics within the mobile MMS system that allow us to track inventory. So one of the challenges with that is we didn't really have an effective warehouse that allowed us to focus inventory in one location until pretty recently. And so beforehand, field staff's warehouses, we could run the risk of putting inventory in and out of a warehouse because we didn't have a central warehouse. So now if everything comes here, once it leaves here, it's checked out of inventory. This is inventory. So when it goes to a warehouse, it's in somebody's possession, if you will. But understanding what came out of this warehouse allows us to inventory vehicles and inventory other warehouses to determine how equipment and material and infrastructure are looking. So there's one of the vending machines right there. So we
I
talked
thought it
about,
was a Coke machine.
yeah, yeah. So you see, there's grinding wheels, there's hand sanitizer, there are Sawzall cutoff saw blades, there's pipe dope, there's any manner of things in there. And so, we're continuing to work on stretching every dollar by educating staff. We're still working through purchase requisitions. So, and this is an ongoing effort, and we're getting a heck of a lot better. But when staff need an item, hey, make a purchase request. Go into mobile MMS and ask Mike, I would like to buy X. This is the info associated with what I want to buy. If it's a pump, hey, it's a 3-horse pump. It's a vertical turbine. It's kind of unique and it's 30 years old. Here's the picture of the nameplate. And so that allows us then to start to track the efforts associated with the purchasing effort or with the purchase, and also understand, long-term, when we make the purchase, we can document all the info. So in the future, if we have to do it again, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel.
This vending machine,
Yeah.
is it fastened?
Yep. So you'll see. So routinely used items, if everybody's using X widget, we'll stock X widget. Then Mike will send out an email to all field staff. Hey, by the way, you're always, for example, a couple weeks ago, reminder, everybody, I stock toilet paper and paper towels. You don't have to go to the admin building and take their toilet paper or paper towels, or you don't have to go to the hardware store and get toilet paper. We have it here. So it's just kind of a constant reminder. We've got to recognize that our folks are out in the field. It's a dynamic situation. They're busy. They're working on a bunch of different things at once. And oftentimes when they need 3 different things, they don't even stop to think, oh, we might already have that. They're just kind of in a mission to achieve. And so that's kind of one of the push pulls that we have with staff. They want to get it done quickly, but they also aren't thinking that we might have it.
Do you have these machines in other locations?
We don't.
We have. So I have something that's not a machine, I got it.
Very cool.
How many of those do we have?
I've never seen anything like
Yeah,
this before.
there's 2 in there, but one's full of like marking paint, I think, right?
There's 3 separate, they're all together.
Damon, I have a question.
Yeah.
I seem to remember that you, your staff has roundtable discussions periodically with other water, wastewater providers in the county. Is
That's true.
how frequently does that occur?
Every quarter, we have a utilities coordination meeting where we work with,
Okay.
where we discuss anything. It's really kind of an open forum. Anything we want to talk about, let's talk.
Well, I can recall, the reason I'm asking this question, I can recall several meetings that took place up in the senior citizens facility 15 years ago, where there was a kind of a countywide wish list that all the agencies could combine their efforts and buy in bulk and get quantity discounts and stuff. Have you talked about that? Having the other agencies give you a wish list of what they need, and have Mike look at quantity discounts if we added another 3,000 widgets or something to our order, and spread the benefit around that, or spread that around the county that buying.
It's been a while since we've had that conversation, but it has been a while. I think it's a good opportunity to refresh.
Yeah, we've kicked that around a few times over the years. In the end, a lot of times it ends up being more logistically complicated than the benefit would justify. So the cost benefit ends up not being there necessarily, but there are some instances where it may, it may be beneficial, and it's always something if there's a cost savings there, we're interested in finding it.
Well, I'm not talking about buying nails or something like that, but
Right.
if we have 8-inch pipe and we're going to buy 10,000 lineal feet of it, telephone call to UPUD, some of these places said, hey, do you need any of this pipe? We're going to make a big purchase. No. It's 90 days from now, we're going to pull the trigger on this. What do you think? I don't want it to be more cumbersome than it's necessary, but if that's you said on your video that we work closely with these other agencies, and let's make it happen.
So one of the interesting things that I didn't put the entire ops budget in the presentation because it would just be the ops budget. But one of the things that's worth noting is when you look at the fiscal years, particularly last year to this current fiscal year, 22 to 23, barring a few line items, we're the same. The budget is flat. And when you take a look at the expenditures, particularly on materials and supplies, and consider this right here, we're flat. And we had, I don't know how many, I used to think it was 13 atmospheric river storms, but now I'm hearing 33. So, I mean, I just know we had a lot of people working for a long time, all winter long, and people putting in really long hours and a lot of infrastructure failures that we were working to repair. And we were able to maintain that GL. But to your point, couple of the ones that strike me are, obviously we've talked about chemicals. Chemicals have skyrocketed. And when I talk to the chemical suppliers, they're not coming down anytime soon. They might level off, but they don't see any sign of a change, because my request obviously is you're going to pass your savings back on to us, right? When you see these changes. And so, we do understand there's other wastewater facilities and water treatment facilities out there. So perhaps that's one of those where we could optimize through bulk. Like Michael said, there's a lot of kind of logistics we'll have to figure out, but we haven't talked about it in a while. So it's time.
That is one area that I do remember. That's a specific example of where we did talk to other agencies. And I think it was around the time it was during the pandemic, or it might have been when summer started at UPD. I don't recall exactly when it was, but that was a discussion we were having. Is is there any savings of bulk chemical purchases and going in on that with other agencies? And there's logistical problems with, well, first of all, a lot of us, we're not always using the same chemicals. And so that was one of
That's
the main issue. But then, delivery and the equipment that would be needed, the logistics didn't make sense either. But we'll continue pursuing those options whenever they present themselves.
I was almost going to just pass over the slide, but I think it's important to look at a couple detail examples of the cost changes from 2020 to 2023. I mean, a 6x1 saddle was $44, 2020, now it's $73. I mean, a 2-inch 2-bolt dresser went from $35 to almost $100. I mean, it's just mind blowing. 1x3 repair clamp. So this is that $27 in 2020, over $40 now. So this is the reality that we've all talked about for many, many meetings now in many different situations. And so I think Mike has done a fabulous job working to control those costs. And one of the things that has helped him is this construction of this warehouse. And so that's a testament to y'all allowing us to centralize and organize our material and our equipment and be able to inventory it. Allows us to limit waste, eliminate concerns of over purchase and all different other
David,
all kinds of benefits.
what is I mean, I haven't been over there in a while. I see from the pictures that we've got, racking and inventory. What have we done with the existing plants? Are we moving stuff out of there into here? Or, I mean, have we ever inventoried all the old stuff we have?
Yeah, Mike.
It's right and back for it,
We'll get over it.
It cost me my modeling career getting red.
You fit right in here.
I mean, what would happen before is if you needed a part, you didn't have it, and let's say it was a Saturday, you would have to scatter the district calling other supervisors, hey, do you have this? Do you have this? So we invaded these and just brought everything down as much as we can. We keep them with a bare minimum stock of what they have. Some supervisors do like to have like their backup pumps on hand, but a lot of them we keep right here, or they'll have a backup and I'll have a backup. So when they use their backup, then they take my backup and then I reorder in stock.
Yeah.
Right here. So that's been the concept behind that. But yeah, we did, a lot of how we started was not buying everything. We rated Ebbets Pass and Copper, and we took a lot of their stuff and left them with just a minimal that they could use and brought it down here before we started making purchases.
Do you do a regular inventory of your items, like monthly or quarterly or anything like that,
Not-
all locations?
Not monthly yet, but that's how we're going to do it, is once a month. But as we've moved from this warehouse over to here, it's, I think I did 2 inventories while I was at the old warehouse, and I don't think I was there very long, but, once I get everything all set up again, then we'll do a monthly inventory. We've done 1 inventory since I've been in this warehouse.
And Jeff, I imagine you'd be requiring that, huh?
Does that?
Well, I
does that
mean, it's gonna be on the
include
books.
Items that are in other locations?
Some, yes, but not really, because we're trying to run everything central out to there. So it's inventoried here and then put out there.
So that's the kind of the difficult thing is, once it leaves here, we'd have to consider it. Basically.
Yeah.
Basically, used.
Yeah. It'd be a difficult process for one guy to keep inventory of like 5 different places if we just keep it in one place. And as they take it, and I can even, when in mobile MMS, if you take it, you come in your truck and your truck 552, you know, I can put it in mobile MMS, that truck, it got taken by truck 552. So we can narrow it down to jobs also in mobile MMS.
It's powerful. It allows us to really kind of, and then we can track it over time. One of the things that we can do is, hey, did you use truck 552? Did you use that widget? You got it like 6 months ago. It is still in your truck. I mean, you don't need to ask for another one, you know.
But it,
So you take it back if they don't need
Right.
it.
so, won't a work order, I mean, don't they have to give you a work order before they order a part?
Well, not current, so that would be a purchase requisition. So for certain dollar amounts, absolutely yes, but for kind of say anything $500, $400 pump, not yet. We encourage that. We're trying to get everybody to do that, but it doesn't happen every single time.
The thing that we would want that sort of chain eventually
Yeah.
to that, because, I mean, not that any of our guys would do that sort of thing, but, you know, just to request a part and then not have a job number for it, that doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense. We need to have a job number associated with it.
We're still working in that process, but like right now, when they do the job, they do a work order, they have to make a list of the parts that they use on that
Okay.
work order. That's how we kind of keep track of the parts on that end. I just keep inventory here. They do a purchase request. If they don't do a purchase request, I gotta talk to them about doing a purchase request, just so we know. But a lot of times they'll come in and just say, hey, I need this, and I'm like, they'll give me a purchase request, and then I could take it out of inventory or add it into inventory when it comes in. And then when they do the work, they'll put a list of the parts that they use.
Another question, are you required to, like, on a certain purchase amount, to request a certain amount of bids? Do you have to, is there a limit on that?
That is,
Yeah.
that's the part. And I mean, the policy, I think, allows them, I mean, we try to get quotes whenever we can, but if it's.
Well, it's not always possible. I mean, that's the thing. I just want to make sure that there, I was talking with, another utility up the hill, about, trying to get prices on, slurry. Well, you can't get 3 bids.
Right.
You
Yeah.
can't get 3
Right.
people to contact you back,
Yeah.
so there's gotta be some time limit. I mean, you can request, but you can't, I mean, sometimes you just can't go get you can't find 3 people that are gonna bid the damn thing.
Yeah.
You can't find 3 people that have it.
What guy
So we
brought
have
the
to have-
claims summary about the tires from the Brandon Tire that You know, if you have a front tire of a truck that's 70,000 pounds, if you got an abrasion bumper cut on the front tire, that we got to replace that tire now before they can do the job. So not only do I gotta consider price, I have to consider the lead time, who can do the job the fastest and get it back on the road. But Brandon tires usually, you know, they're right there with the cheapest of anybody. So it's but we needed, I go to get 3 quotes, but if this guy can get it done tomorrow and the other guy can't get out there till next week, we gotta get the truck on the road.
Yeah,
So that's
and
what-
to that point, and Damon mentioned this earlier, but I think we've also improved our documentation too. So where 3 quotes are required, but we can't get 3 quotes, we'll still document the fact that, hey, we tried to get 3 quotes, we could only get 2. Here's what the 2 quotes were, and making sure that we're tracking all that so that we can go back and, you know, if we ever get to ask the question of, well, why didn't you get 3 quotes on that one? We've got, you know, documentation.
Can you tell me, you're not done, go ahead.
I know, I was just gonna say, the other day, we were reporting a job at the fairgrounds, had a fully loaded, brand new truck, you know, 9.5 yards. Somehow he turned around in the parking lot, lost his 2 rear tires off the rims. A fully loaded truck.
Wow.
And so they're like, well, are they gonna fix the tires? I mean, we're waiting, we had, you know, 7 guys there waiting. And they go, no, somebody's gotta come up from Stockton and put those tires on. I don't know what happened to that load of concrete.
So we couldn't move.
No, they literally off the rim, something turning around in the parking lot.
Since we're talking
Anyway,
tires,
nobody got
I
hurt.
always, when I look at the claim summary, I always see snow tire purchases. Now, those are only used X amount of time a year. So have you developed a program that they, you know, where they're at? So, you know, hey, I just bought some last year. Where are they? And tracking them?
Well, yeah, we'll see who bought them. They rotate them out, and put on the off-season tires, but that's
Right.
currently something that we need a little bit more space here to start stocking tires here.
But yeah,
Yeah.
but at least you know who's purchased them. So when someone says, hey, I need snow tires, you can
So-
go back and say, wait, truck number
So,
1, 2,
yeah,
3
truck number
just got them
727.
last year.
Yeah, so.
And they should have,
727 buys a set of snow tires. That gets sent to me, or I have him do it, and it gets put in mobile MMS under truck 727. And then the invoice is in there, it has the date the job got done, and it's in there in the computer system, so we can track that. So let's say 2 months later.
So-
27.
since that's your mechanic shop, where are the snow tires going now when they're not being
They are
used?
stocked currently near where their truck is because. we don't
Okay.
have enough-
They just park them or
we
something.
got- don't
There's,
get me wrong.
there's indoor, there's mostly up on the pass, they
Yeah.
can keep them inside, but our goal is to have, you know, say a rail car or some sort of hold here where everyone's chalked up, you know, Damon's tires, Mike's tires, Dad's tires, you know, and they're in there. And then if you need your snow tires, you come down here
They'll
and
get
get them.
them, yeah.
Yeah, they're marked. And the goal is to get a balancer here, so we can buy tires.
Oh, because you can't put those on here.
Yeah, we
So,
should put
got
those
it.
on here, so we need to, we're gonna set that.
That's part of
That
the,
part of the future here.
the master
The near
plan.
future is have a place where we can keep these tires, where they don't get, you know, where we know, keep track of them.
You know, sit outside.
Right.
Where we can actually swap them out.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that's part of the future, yeah.
Do you demount the tires or do they get
We-
taken off with
We
wheels?
can mount the tires here, but we can't balance them.
No, I mean, if you've got a set of snow tires on a truck and you want to put regular tires on for the summer season, do you take the tire and wheel and take the tire off? Or do you have
Most of these guys.
Separate wheels.
Extra set of tires. extra
Right.
wheels.
extra wheels and tires?
Yeah, yes, then you don't have to.
And not everyone uses snow tires too. So it
Right.
depends on where you're.
Yeah.
Where you,
If you have 4-wheel drive,
yeah.
generally don't need them.
Here's another image of the other part of the vending machine. WD-40 and USA market paint, the fragile and caution tape, then an image of the warehouse. Some of the bins, in the warehouse. So we have all, you know, the SWIP material kept inside. We have, you know, this is, as you can see, it's pretty straightforward. Your inventory goes-
When did you start moving and filling up the place? Because when I was there several months ago, I mean, you recently just started filling it up, right?
April, I think by the end of
April?
April. Yeah. Right there. but we were just in there.
Right, you weren't.
Yeah,
But now you're starting to stock
Yeah, we're starting to
inventory. So that's been going on for how long now? A couple months or?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's still a process
Yeah.
too, I mean, getting
Oh,
everything
yeah.
located and.
But we're organizing by department, so you got the collections crew, you got the distribution
Nice.
crew.
When I try to see what trends, I mean, what we buy a lot of, I try to get that in bulk and have it there. You know, certain items or stuff that we need to stock. So, you know, we're talking about the claim summary with
Yeah.
auto supply. If somebody needs something, they go up to a generator and, you know, there's a vacuum line that's broken or something, and he needs a part, it's not something I'm gonna stock. Just
Gotcha.
because
Yeah.
you don't have to, but he still needs to make that repair. It might be something that he uses once a year. There's no reason for us to stop it. If we can go to the auto supply store. And that stuff happens all the time because there's so much different. I mean, there's nothing hardly standard here. Everything is different and we're trying to standardize a lot of stuff. We'll be long gone before everything gets standard. There's just so much different.
So much.
It would
stuff.
be impossible for us to stock everything. Yeah.
Do you have a budget amount of what dollars are gonna be sitting in there at any point in time to
I
value?
think the budget is not enough.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm just
but I
kind of
don't-
curious.
That's a good
Jeff,
question. I don't know if we track that.
well, you're gonna have to at the end of the year on June 30th, you're gonna need to know what the dollar value is
Supplies and materials.
or bookkeeping.
Right.
So we can give you that.
No, I'm just curious. I don't have to have it. I'm just wondering, you know.
Just to kind of try to take one budget line item from the operations budget, you know, materials and supplies, kind of touches all houses in operations, so to speak. So, you know, we looked at the cost increases for all those materials, and you know, you see 60% cost increase on repair claims. And so in 2022, if you take out the utility crew expenses to make apples to apples, because in 2022, we rolled their expenditures into the materials and supplies budget. We actually came in under the materials and supplies expenditures than last year
Very good.
in 20.
And it'll just keep getting better.
That's right. And so this is kind of, you know, consider cost increase and then consider our ability to keep budget GLs somewhat flat. And so that's a challenge to us. Jeff and Michael and I have that conversation every year, and we, you know, challenge accepted, and Mike and our guys out in the field do a phenomenal job in towing the line. And really, I think it illustrates that staff are cost conscious and staff are out there and they're not saying, oh, yeah, that one's in my truck. Here, just let's go get it. You know, I don't want to go get that one. Just give me a new one. You know, we're not frivolous with how we implement materials.
What do you think the turnover is on these items sitting in there? And the reason why I'm asking is that my brain's going to the accounting side of how you're tracking the inventory. Is it going to be on the books with value, or does the minute you buy it, you're looking at it as an expense and it's gone? You know, are the auditors want to know how much that value is sitting out there? And you made a comment about, well, once the guy takes it, it's being used, and that makes sense. But if it's sitting out here and the turnover isn't, you know,
Yeah.
more than a couple weeks, then I imagine he's gonna have to know, you know,
Yeah.
how you're expensing it, right?
I mean, I look at trends. I know what we use a lot of, like we were talking about service lease. I'll buy 900. Actually, I bought it a couple years ago before the price jacked up because we're gonna use them. They're gonna do like 300 and some service leaks in just a locking
Yeah.
area. So I need a repair clamp. I mean, I know what I need. The utility crew is going to use a saddle. They're gonna use a corp. They're gonna use an adapter. They're gonna use tube. They're gonna use a corp stop. They're gonna use a meter adapter. And they're going to do so many a day. So I know what I need to stock a lot of, and I know what I need to keep a very low stock of. And I try to keep, a mid-max on what I'm keeping out there. The same with the passing machine. Everybody has a mid-max, like, we'll keep
Yeah.
5 on your shelf.
Yeah, I've got the accounting in my head, so I'm kind of looking at, oh, how are these financials gonna roll up with all this stuff now, you know? Just curious, you know?
So, one of the other things that, that our operations budget encompasses our fleet expenditures, right? We talk about the enterprise program and talk about this beautiful bucket truck.
Cindy, that's a Cindy's truck?
Yeah,
So
that's
there is
it.
an action. And so, Just kind of wanted to show you some images of some of the heavier duty, this would have tendencies in mechanics trucks, you know, with auto cranes, we're actually able to
Oh, we
hire a
talked about
crane company less often. I think we talked about it the last one.
Yeah.
They can actually pull heavier pumps in more remote locations than a huge crane truck can, so that's the savings for us. And then the enterprise profile. So this kind of gives you a breakdown of what the enterprise fleet looks like currently. So we still have 23 trucks that are 10 years old or older. And then we have 10 from 2019, and then we had 8 in 2020, and a couple in 2021, and then 8 more in 2022, and we'll be on the stick for 8 in this current budget year. So we'll be at 38. So we're going to start to kind of transition this program into, now we're going to look at those, you know, it hasn't really penciled resale. So right, if you guys remember, the thought is you lease to own these vehicles, and at year 4 or 5 with that first batch, there's ability to optimize kind of your investment in the truck, and to pull as much of your invested dollars in the truck out by reselling it. And you take whatever, quote unquote, it's not profit, but whatever additional cash that you receive, and you can reinvest it in the program to pay it down. Because ultimately what Enterprise showed in 2019, when y'all approved this, is that it's kind of a wash purchase wise, cost wise, but the optimization in working with a newer truck, resale, and with fuel and repair parts is kind of where you see some savings. But overall, it's kind of a wash, but it allows you to be more efficient.
Okay, with this fleet size, how many are electric at this point?
Absolutely none. And so of the heavy duty fleet, I want to say that's right around 35. So actually, I take that back. We have, it's more about 45 of those trucks will have to, according to the program, to the CARB, would have to become electric in 20.
On that subject for a minute, there is part of that CARB law that requires some fleets to start doing stuff in 2024 or 2023. What is it with our fleet that allows us to wait till 2027?
Low population county. So
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah. And so this is kind of the total fleet value, Cindy. So you've got 60 vehicles at 1.4 million. Average annual acquisition 5.6. So prior to 2019, annual average acquisition was like 1.7 trucks a year. We had, yeah, it's pretty interesting. We had 6 trucks that were daily drivers for our crew members that were over 20 years old in 2019. And so, you know, one of the meter reader Jeeps that we had, because we had to use it for quite a while, we were reading meters, but the Jeep would break down.
I was
So
just gonna say, somebody was taking care of them, but they're 20 years old and still being
So our mechanical staff were working on our vehicles.
all the time, yeah.
Right. And so they weren't necessarily working on pumps or, you know, working with other crews to optimize the water and wastewater infrastructure. They were working on our vehicles. And so another metric of the enterprise program, 4 different classes of vehicles. And you can see the annual or the average annual mileage. So for the trucks and the SUVs, medium duty. So we're still pretty low. So this, yeah, I mean, we're doing a good job. Everybody's got pretty judicious with their drive miles. And so this is the slide that we used in the presentation during the rate workshops. And so this is kind of in a nutshell, year 1. So this has gone up a little bit, but in 2019, it was $83,000 to implement the lease on 10 vehicles. And that would have bought 2 trucks. And so, and then when you look at budget control, this is the materials and supplies GL. So the 20% is the materials and supplies GL averaged over the last 5 years. So we're actually, that budget GL came down. So we were still in 2017, that materials and supplies budget line item was higher than it is in 2024 in this year's budget and in all the last previous year's budgets. Doesn't mean we've held to be on budget every single year, but for many of those years we had through materials and supplies. Yeah. And so, kind of to review the budget adaptation for the enterprise program. If you look at, operating expenses, gas and oil, and then repair parts. So these are two separate line items in the ops budget. So 2023 repairs and parts, 117 compared to 140 in 2022. So you can see that program
So nice.
and offloading a bunch of these old vehicles through the public surplus is helping. And then fuel expenses is right about equal. And we know that fuel,
It's
I mean,
gone up.
it's continues to go up. Yeah.
Very good. We're having a discussion about what GL is.
So general ledger, so,
Oh, okay, it
so basically the line items in our budget, so we have the operations budget and we'll have a line item that says repairs and parts, or we'll have one that says, capital lease or laboratory services. So each one of those is a line item in that.
Well, Scott was right. I asked him.
And so one of the things I also wanted to highlight is additional considerations about our heavy duty fleet. So we do have some low use, low population vehicles that we still use. So we have a couple dump trucks. So when we purchased dump trucks, leased to own through Enterprise, we didn't get rid of our old ones because they're dump trucks. We need them, but they're low use. So they can only be used, they can
Back up.
less than 1,000 miles a year. And you can roll that mileage that you don't use over to the next year up to 3,000 miles. So at some point in time though, and I can't remember the date, we can't use them at all. So we just need to bear that in mind as we start to look down the line about future pinch points for heavy duty fleet equipment. And then the 2013 VAC in our largest service area is quite. And then carb clean fleet requirements. So I don't know what the status of AB 1594
I
is.
don't think we know yet. The governor has until, I think it's the 14th to sign or veto.
So what that assembly bill does is it tells the California Air Resources Board to go back to the drawing board when it comes to water and wastewater utilities and requiring them to implement electric fleets. It says, hey, wait, timeout. Are you sure?
Yeah.
You need to kind of go sit down with the water world and talk about whether that makes sense, because I think this is what the assemblyman considered. Garcia was that there probably are first responders. So maybe you should take another look, and because we don't want to minimize or needlessly expose folks to public health and safety risks by making the water guy run an electric truck when the fireman is sitting there idling in a diesel pickup, waiting for him to catch up, We can't work with one hand tied behind our backs.
Right.
We all recognize it. And so here's kind of a breakdown. It's kind of a little bit hard to see, but that is one of our pumper trucks in the image behind the text. But we have an 07 2.5 ton dump truck and an 08 2.5 ton dump truck, and then an 09 pumper truck. And you'll see some pictures of its universal joint in the ops report because it fell on the ground when we went to use it last month. And so those are low use, low population county trucks. We can only use them a certain amount. And then we have some older vehicles. The Peterbilt pumper is the newest pumper truck. And then we have a really good collection of mechanics trucks, the VACON, and then the Gap Vac. So we're, in a lot of our service areas, we're looking really good. We just have a couple holes, and hopefully we can find a creative way to fill those in the future. There is the Carl Moyer grant program through the California Air Resources Board, and they will give you funds to purchase equipment with zero or low emissions. But the one catch with, as there always are with grants, is that you have to use the vehicle a lot. So like if you're looking at 2,080 hours, they want you to use it at least 1,500 hours. So it gets a little difficult when you're talking about a backhoe or an excavator. You get a little closer when you're talking about a truck, but even then, that's a ton of time. So we'll have to find a way to creatively apply for those funds.
What kind of business would use them?
So
That kind of.
it's an
kind.
ag thing, so it's focused mostly on like trucks and equipment associated with removing, cutting hay and like
Gotcha.
thresh, that's really why the program exists.
There was a program, some of the farmers that I worked for down in San Joaquin, Stanislaus County, where they could turn in their gas-powered ATVs and they would get them a new, or give them like a $15,000 credit on a electric ATV. I don't know, so there's something for the air resources control.
We'll look at that one, because,
But it's pretty, I mean, the farmers, as long as it was a running, could have been a heat, as long as you turn it in and it ran, they give you a new electric one, depending on, I don't know if we have any of that stuff around or not.
we do, and we'll definitely look at that.
Well, I want to say that presentation was awesome.
Thank you.
It was really good. Thank you.
I'd like to know, do we have any other big purchases for the warehouse, or are we pretty much complete, or?
We still have some flooring that needs to be done, but it's nothing big. We're doing it in-house, so we save you a ton of money.
So, well, tell them about that.
Yeah, I mean, we got bids on doing the flooring and the baseboards, and all three quotes were 22,000 plus, and we got it down to like, I think it's 3,000 for each room, doing it inside. We just basically paid for materials.
Yeah, good.
And saved a ton.
So our fellows are doing it themselves.
Yeah, the only thing that comes to mind in terms of the yard is storage for the tires, because we actually, Cameron and our senior supervisor of the mechanics, he and I talked about this on Monday, about how, because a tire balancer was approved in the budget, so everyone's like, okay, we can do tires in-house now. Well, we also have to have a place to put them, because we just don't want to stack them up out here in the yard and watch them rot,
Right.
so.
And paint.
Yeah, well, Mike got some paint too, paint.
Well, very nice presentation.
Yeah,
This is
very
fun.
good. Thank you.
You guys.
Haven't heard about
Really
it in a
good.
long time. Haven't
Nice
heard
to
about
meet-
what's going on in the warehouse as a purchasing manager for a year and a half at least.
Thank you. Isn't that what it is? Oh, I guess it's agent, huh? Manager's good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Well, thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
good presentation. Thank you,
Thanks, you
Damon.
guys. That was awesome.
Well, don't go far, Damon. Okay, reports, we're going on to item 5A, report on
Okay.
September 23 Operation Department. Thank you, Michael.
Okay, so this ops report is going to be a little bit of a diversion from the routine. We don't start off with Rancho today. We start off with Evans Pass. It's kind of interesting in the ops report, we had 31 service repairs in Rancho. And the staff really, want to highlight that. Yeah, we made 31 repairs. These are all the things that we couldn't do because we were making those 31 repairs, because we just want to show you that.
These
It's
are the
really-
things you couldn't do.
Yeah, it's because those weigh on our folks' minds, like,
Gotcha.
man, we were just talking about an inline 6-inch PRV that really needs to be rebuilt or more likely replaced, but we haven't had time to assess it because we're fixing leaks. And so it's just want the board to know that we recognize there's a whole host of other things that we can and we need to be doing, but we also got to fix the leak that can result in the property damage or the water across the road or cause safety issues. So jumping into the pass. So we start off here with just a routine service line repair, just to show here's that 2013 vac on at work. And our guys, the USA marks, you can see the power located or marked there by the edge of the driveway apron. And this is an interesting one, a repair of a surge relief up in Big Trees Village. Oftentimes, plows will damage our infrastructure in the shoulder of the road. If we can find it in a timely manner, more than likely, mostly we'll get the county on the stick to fix whatever it is that potentially they damage with the plow. But sometimes we don't find these until, after the season. And so we jump in and make the repair. So you can see Billy hydro excavating around the box, and then Joe getting in there and cutting off the plumbing and then replumbing. So this is a great one. This is USA line locating. So this is a time suck for our field staff. So PG&E, as you guys know, is out and about trying to underground as much as they can, and they're ripping and tearing and bumping into everybody. And so we have staff that are out. You can see, instead of using the blue paint, we're using blue flags in the image on the left. But you know, staff wanted to let you know that they're pretty proficient line locators, because the image on the right shows you the pipe below the blue marks on the asphalt. So
Nice.
that's pretty slick. Yeah, it's really good because
They were on Darby Road
But-
doing all that electrical repair yesterday.
yeah, oh, they were. So
Damon, do
maybe-
you have like, the pipes lined with wire or something so you can find them?
ideally, yes, not the vast majority. Well, maybe not the vast majority. I would say, well, maybe the vast majority.
So how did they get this close? What method did they use?
I would say that's, I don't know if they went to that one or. So you got the 2 copper rods. Yeah, I mean,
No.
oh yeah, we have some guys that are really good at it. They'll tell you where,
Totally works.
you want to know where Joaquin Marietta's gold is, they'll tell you.
They already found it, huh?
Yeah, oh, I mean,
It'll find pretty much any trench, even
Yes.
your sprinklers.
yeah,
wanna-
yeah, it might not always be water, right? But you're
It'd
gonna
be a
find.
trench of some kind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah. Here's resetting a blow off valve. So you see the image on the left is, you know, the brass. You can see the gate valve with the blue handle, and then what it looks like when the box is restored and set to grade.
Witching works really good, but a backhoe never fails. You always find it.
Right. Well, and in this case, the backhoe did. So the image on the right is PG&E and their subcontractors trenching, and the image on the left is the service. You know, our guys didn't even know the service was there, and so PG&E trenched right through it. And so there's, you know, when these kind of situations happen, it's just quickly jump in. You know, so the supervisor for the subcontractor and our supervisors have each other on speed dial. They develop relationships throughout these projects, and then they're gone, and then new relationship with a whole new utility working on a whole different thing. So it's kind of a unique dynamic job. So this is something that I don't think we talk about a lot. So you're flushing for water quality purposes in the image on the left. So as we talk about, if you construct a distribution system for fire protection, you're going to have some stale water out there in the system. You're going to need to move water. And so we document that, we dechlorinate it, and we account for it. And that's the image on the left.
That's our truck there?
Correct. Yeah.
Nice cones. Love the
Yeah.
cones.
Yeah. It's good. And then the image on the right is how we check for chlorine concentration in the water system. So it's a colorimetric test. There's a little DPD pillow, it's called. So there's an analyte inside of a little dry pillow. And you take a little cuvette sample of the clear water, and you pour that pillow in there and you shake it up, and the depth of color correlates to the concentration of chlorine in the water supply. So a 1.0 chlorine residual is where we want it to be. That's got enough residual chlorine to attack any critters that get in a pipe, should there be a line break or a cross connection. But it doesn't have so much that it's going to turn your hair blue or orange or green or red, right? Here's an interesting one right here. So this was a 8x6 transition in front of the Dorrington pump station over there near the lube room. And we feel like it had been leaking for quite a while. So it was a ductile iron 8-inch and an AC 6-inch, and the transition was just blowing water. And so Joe Darby and his distribution crew, oftentimes, as you can imagine, our maps that we have on file don't actually match up with what's in the ground. So Joe and his crew were potholing. We talked about this last month to understand the piping in the ground. And in doing so, they located this leaking line. And so when our guys went up, the construction crew came up to help, and they cut that leak out, they put a valve in. So it provides more operational flexibility to the crew now. So we eliminate a leak and we install operational flexibility. So these are the kind of ways the guys optimize the system.
And then you put it on the map?
Right, actually, yeah. So in MMS, our guys can actually say installed a valve, or the fire hydrant doesn't live here, the fire hydrant's actually over here, and they can drop a pin on the map, and it actually sends a work order to MMS to make a change. And then, so we don't have an after picture, but this is part of what they've been working on up there. So we have a new pressure reducing valve that's going to go in the ground. And in doing that work, the guys were able to add some valves on this T, and you can see the T in the image on the left. It's asbestos cement pipe. And there's one of those collars that we always talk about at the top of the screen, at the top of the T, where oftentimes a service ladder will be screwed into. And then on the bottom of the T is a full circle repair clamp. So this thing had a break, a shear break. So that pipe went like this at some point in time in its life. And somebody jumped in there and put a full circle repair clamp on it. So construction crew went up, and unfortunately I don't have an after picture, but they cut all that out, put a new T in with valves. So we don't have a T with no way to isolate anything, because obviously if you have a T, you're going to send water from one direction to another direction, but we have no way of controlling that without valves. So we optimize that. And then the image on the right shows you the vault that the PRV lives in currently, and that is wood. So it's a wooden vault with water under pressure in old pipes. And so that's a confined space. And so when you send staff down in there, safety is of the most importance. They're going to have a harness. They're going to have a gas monitor.
How deep is it? Wow, what could go wrong? Huh?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So this is lower road repair below our White Pines barn, going out near the ball field there. So there was some drainage issues there. Obviously, we got standing water. And so the construction crew came in and installed some DIs and some culvert and improved the road.
Nice.
And then prepping for White Pines Thule removal. So that's occurring right now in earnest. They actually completed the spillway Thule removal and all the dam side Thule removal and moved the equipment over to near the ball field already. So we're not even halfway through the month. And the component that the DSOD said, Division of Dam Safety, said, you got to get done, they knocked it out because they're already done with that part. So they do great work. And then they also took advantage of the Vallecito camp crew to come up and help grub and brush trees and brush along the fencing so they could prep for the Thule removal.
What is that crew? What do you pay a day?
That's about $248 a day for 12 people.
Is that a deal?
Yeah, and they come in like a sledgehammer too.
I heard that 120 for 6.
Yeah,
a day.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is where the Larkspur tank project kind of transitions back to operations. We have to intertie the tank piping to our existing infrastructure. So the construction crew did this work, and that open pipe sticking up, that will be cut to grade. That's basically how you put a lid on that pipe, and that will become the valve access. So that's what we call a G5, that valve access right there. That'll sit on top of that valve, and in the future, that's how we're going to operate that. So here's that universal joint on the pumper truck. Our folks went to go pump out a lift station and jumped into the pumper truck, and the drive line made a big old noise, and the U-joint fell out. And so the mechanics jumped in there and put a new U-joint on, the image in black on the right. And then we have this intake piping on Pond 6. So Pond 6 is in Copperopolis, conveys water to the water reclamation plant, which then pushes it over to Saddle Creek. And there's an intake on a set of floats with connected to basically like a giant hose. And that apparatus that connects the pump to the hose failed. So our mechanics took it out and fabricated a new one. So Roy jumped in and got going bright and early, with fabrication. So he already fabbed up a new connection for that intake hose for the reclaim system. So hats off to him. Here's some images of what a metal flange to Canaflex connection looks like after it's just been used to the nth degree. 10-year-old vehicle, maybe 60,000 miles on it, but this is what the pickup tube looks like when you've been blasting rocks through it every day for the past 10 years, So our mechanics get in there and replace that. And then here's some folks in the engineering department, and Pat and myself were lucky enough to participate in the NCPA tour of the Upper Lake infrastructure. And so here's some pictures from Spicer. Got on the dry side of the dam, and then wet dry side up on the image on the right. Overlooking, you can see the intake kind of off in the distance. And here's the catwalk out to the intake. And then the wet side of the reservoir, you can see how full, I mean, everything is just so full. And then you can see HPA tour of McKay's. The image on the left is the tunnel tap intake. And the image on the right is kind of the wet and dry side. And then you can see the dam here. It's just a magnificent place. And then Alpine. So this is the interesting one. I'm sure you've heard the image on the right. There were some DSOD requirements a couple years back for rehabilitating that dry stacked rock, and they brought in a rock stacker from Scotland. So I just thought that was the coolest thing, and so I'd throw a picture of that in there. And then our electricians are really getting into the providing operational photographs of their work efforts. So that's some great stuff here. So this was an operations / capital project where we replaced the UV system at Forest Meadows. We had a contractor come in, pour the concrete, and basically fab the form up. And that was CTC construction. And then our electricians came in and installed the gutter, conduit, and wire. And they're doing it. It's fabulous. It looks great. That thing's going to last for another 25 years.
Because that UV at Forest Meadows for all these years was giving us problems.
Well, so it was not installed the way that copper
Right,
and
right.
lock and right. And so it's always kind of been an operational issue, but this improves on that dramatically. Yeah. This is a really interesting one. Jenny Lynn effluent pump free, pumps making a grinding sound. Operators like, man, we don't know what's going on. There's an issue. So the electricians come in. They say, well, let's just uncouple the motor to the pump. So the image on the right, you can see the shaft from the motor coming down and the shaft from the pump coming up. Normally there's a coupling there. Well, the shaft from the motor is bent. It's been working so much that it just bent. And so it's putting a bind on the pump. And so making this just god awful noise. And so guys were able to shut everything down and we can get a new pump ordered. But those are the kind of things that, you know, when you're running equipment and, you know, you're going to encounter. IEC starter for the mixer. This is troubleshoot Upper Copper Cove, Upper Cross Country. The mixer is critical to Upper Cross Country lift station. If we can't mix up all the fat and all of the Swiffers, chopped up gloves, paper
Oh,
products,
yeah.
it turns into this big glob, and then it'll grab a hold of our floats and it won't allow the floats to work properly. So when the lift station starts filling up and that fat berg grabs a hold of our infrastructure, it doesn't tell us that the level's high. So this is really scary to our collections crew when they feel like the mixer can't work effectively. So the electricians were able to come in and save the day and replace that and get the mixer back in action. And so here's the HMI failed as well. So the image on the left is kind of what you would see if you walked into the pump station and said, hey, let me turn this pump on. Well, you just walk in, you get a black screen. So I remember as an operator, when your HMI fails, you just kind of remember where the start the pump button was. And you're like, well, maybe it'll work if I just hit, you know.
Did it?
I don't know in this case, but it has for me in the past. Oh, yeah. And then in preparation of the NCPA outage, when they clean the tunnel tap, our electricians actually go in and clean the motor starters at the Hunter's Reservoir pump station. So this is images of that. And then finally, we worked with Director Cicada and Michael and the Blue Mountain Emergency Preparedness Committee to take a tour of the West Point water and wastewater facilities. So you can kind of see some of these images here. The image on the left is at the West Point shop. So we're in the bay there in the shop and we're looking at some maps. And then the image on the right, Scott Grutz, the operator, is talking to everybody about SCADA. And you can see Fire Chief Terry Miller and Mike Downs, who will be replacing him in this spring when Chief Miller retires.
It seems like there's one person short of that.
Yeah, maybe, right? Yeah. And then here's a couple images of Jesse giving the lowdown on how the filter works. Just a really, really good tour. The group is a great group. They're really concerned about emergency preparedness in West Point, and hopefully we can bring them into the fold with the utilities coordination meeting and allay some of their fears moving forward. Oh, and there she is. So at the end of the tour, we were able to get a pic in front of the the backhoe that used to live in Copperopolis, but then we redeployed it to West Point.
Very nice.
Thank you all.
Very nice. Thank you,
Okay.
Damon. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Just a real quick note to add to the, Damon mentioned briefly the rock stacker from Scotland. That's a, rock stacker sounds like a piece of equipment, but it's not a piece of equipment. It's a Scottish guy that is one of the few people in the world that has that skill set to place those rocks the way that they need to be placed to meet dam safety requirements. And it was built that way. And if I've talked to NCPA about this at times in the past, there just aren't very many people that can provide that service.
Yeah, he's literally a castle maker. We had to get
He's a
like
castle maker.
dry stack castle maker out here. I mean, it's just,
They didn't
Wow.
call me.
I mentioned, I did mention that, Russ.
No, you could have done it. That's for NCPA. Should have put in a bid.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Damon. Gonna move on. General manager reports.
All right. So there was a second tour. Speaking of tours, we did a West Point tour on Monday, actually, and we'll probably have some pictures and some follow up on that as well. That was not focused on the water plant. It was focused on the wastewater construction and the proposed site for the biomass power plant. But it was a great group, and I think the tour went really well. On the public relations team front, check out, if you haven't looked at it in a little while, look at our Facebook page. Kelly Gerkensmeyer has been putting together some really cool short videos that help describe different aspects of what CCWD does. We're going to continue doing that into the future and expand from what he's done so far. He did a great video of the tule removal at White Pines that Damon mentioned, that's ahead of schedule. Our crew's doing a great job on that. And one of the Dowd's Landing fuel break project.
Yeah, I saw that one on Twitter or X, whatever they're calling it these days, and next door. Very, very nice job.
Yeah, they're really neat videos, and we're gonna keep that up. And then more to come on the performance metrics tracking and the dashboard concept. We have been working on that internally. I think as we talked about a little bit in the last external relations committee meeting, there's I think in my mind, there's a couple of different phases to that. One is bringing together, because we already do track a lot of what we do, and different departments are tracking it, or it's done, you report it out to different committees in different ways. And so I think the initial effort is consolidating that and bringing it together and making it easier to access for everybody. And then we'll shift focus to what additional metrics we want to add to that. And we'll be in touch with the group that
Can I ask
did.
just a couple of questions about that? This, because I keep hearing this, and I don't know that it's anything we're not doing now, but it seems like they're really trying to get on a employee level about their production or success, or I'm really a little unclear on what we're allowed to share in regards to our employees' performance.
Very
on
little, and we'd
on
be
an
very
individual
cautious
basis.
about
And
that. Yeah,
I think
that's
we
not-
kind of need to get to that point where
Yeah.
of what we can actually do, as opposed to starting with this big wide vision, and going a long way and saying, well, we really can't share all this stuff.
Right.
It's personal. We're not allowed to, and so I kind of like to get that squared away before we dive too far.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's why we're starting with things that are already being reported out and are already public record. And we'll be very mindful of that going forward. Obviously, there are things we can't disclose, but yeah, we'll report back to the External Relations Committee on that
Okay, yeah.
effort. We are looking at not a comprehensive all at once website overhaul, but we are making some minor changes to it. You'll see in the near future, just some minor changes that point more readily to the different departments. We'll make sure that the information is refreshed regularly under the different departments. We'll start with, I think hopefully this week we'll be rolling out a bunch of information about our capital improvement program, what it's done over the last 10 years, what we're proposing to do over the next 5 years, and highlighting all of that on the engineering department page. And then as we move forward, doing regular spotlights on particular projects. So all of that is in the works right now, in addition to pushing out more stuff on social media, just trying to tell the story, do a better job of telling the story of CCWD. There was an UMRA meeting last week. There was an interesting proposal from a group that is seeking to create a joint powers authority. And they basically did a survey of the Mountain Counties region and identified 3 agencies that are very successful at actually implementing large scale, landscape scale fuel thinning projects. The 3 agencies that they identified are the Mariposa RCD, Tuolumne County, and UMRA. And so I think that's a lot of credit due to UMRA for being identified as one of the agencies in the whole region that are very effective at implementing forest management projects. This group is proposing to form a JPA that would become sort of a clearinghouse for biomass utilization management for the whole region. And it's, so to help expedite, provide, market-based data for biomass utilization that's kind of missing right now. And none of the agencies that are involved in that space have the capacity to take it on themselves. So that's why this group stepped in. And so it's early, I would say. The Mariposa RCD got a grant to pursue this. That UMRA was the first stop. They're going to talk to Tuolumne County next. There were some legitimate questions, I think, concerns from the UMRA board about, do we really need another JPA? Isn't this just creating more government? Always good questions to ask when we consider forming a JPA. But, I think the deeper dive will be, well, is there really a critical need here that's not being met? And is the solution a JPA, or is there some other solution? So I think that work will move forward, and UMRA will be involved in it. On the heels of that was the East Bay Mud annual barbecue out at Pardee that was very well attended and successful, I think, and made reconnected with a lot of other agencies and a lot of people out there. So it was a successful event. Interesting presentation from one of the paleontologists that's been working on the fossil find, although we can't say where it is.
They say where it is now?
They didn't tell us either. Really interesting story there, though.
Is it a woolly mammoth or something?
What was the name of that thing? It has the tusks on the bottom and on the top. Yeah, they found some amazing stuff.
Actually, a dinosaur. It was a significant find.
Very significant find. Yeah. They found camels. They found rhinos. That's right. This area used to be more tropical. It's yeah. At that point, I started to question the guy's credibility. But all right, he's an ologist, so we'll give it to him. We had Legal Affairs Committee as well. Always a really good update from Mia on federal issues and planning for our upcoming DC advocacy trip. We're waiting. We're kind of in the waiting game right now on the state side to see what the governor's going to sign and what he's going to veto. And the unfortunate news is we learned yesterday that he signed AB 338, which was the prevailing wage bill for forest management activities. So that was one that the whole coalition was successful in lobbying him last year to veto. It came back this year. They made some amendments to it that don't address all of our concerns, but it addressed his enough, I guess, to sign it. So we'll have to deal with that going.
And at the same time, he made a pledge to fuel management of 1 million acres, which was kind of good. And it's going to cost a whole lot more to do that 1 million acres.
Right.
I mean, maybe twice as much. But But instead of dealing with the dollar figure, he dealt with the acres, which is decent.
Right. And it just exacerbates the problem of the ever expanding definition of public works in California,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So we did on the more positive side, we had an all employees meeting not too long after the last board meeting. And the timing was in part at the last board meeting. I thought the board did a great job of acknowledging and recognizing, and ops management did a great job of acknowledging Chris and Artie and his 34 years at CCWD. And that was part of the timing of the all hands meeting a couple weeks ago too, was in his honor, and his favorite foods. I can't tell you, he just gushed about how excited he was when he found out it was going to be hamburgers and hot dogs instead of, tri-tip sandwiches or something like that, because that's his wheelhouse. But he was really overwhelmed by all of it. And so I think, we're grateful for his hard work, but I think we did a good job of making sure he got the appropriate send off. So.
Okay. Awesome.
Speaking of send offs, almost got fully staffed in the engineering department. We have an engineer starting on October 1st. No, November 1st. Sorry, October 1st has passed. And then shortly after that, Mr. Charles Palmer will be retiring. So that will be yeah, he's going to hit his 20 years at CCWD, and then move on to greener pastures, I suppose. But it's a couple months out still. Fortunately, he gave us a lot of notice, so we'll have some time to download from Charles. He is the institutional memory of the engineering department here. So it'll be a big loss in a lot of ways, and just a great guy. So he, like I said, he'll be here for a few more months. So we'll make sure we bring him back in front of the board. We'll drag him out here and make sure we give him proper recognition as well at some point.
We'll have him report on something.
Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah. Just like we did with Brad, he'll be working right up until his last day. And then lastly, we have a CPPA meeting next week. I won't be here, but Jesse's going to take my spot on the CPPA board next week, and he will also be presenting a grant application. Jesse worked with our electrical staff to identify where we might be able to decrease some of our electrical load. So we have a grant application in front of CPPA to replace some pumps with VFD drives and a lot of lighting replacement. So CPPA is great. They're relatively small grants, I think up to $30,000, but they'll help us decrease our electrical load. So long-term cost savings for the district. So.
Well, good. Every penny counts. Awesome.
That's right.
I'm glad to hear you say that. Yeah. I have a question. Do we ever have anything about, remember PG&E used to do the load thing, lower
Load
electrical
following
rates at a certain time? Do we ever look at any?
Like demand response?
Pardon?
Demand response?
Yeah, with something like that.
You don't get a PG, you don't get power.
Yeah.
With CPPA.
I don't think that ever came through CPPA. And there are significant efforts to create a sort of almost real-time demand response in the water industry, so that when the state is overtaxed and we're on the energy side and risking blackouts or brownouts, that CalISO can put out an alert to those water agencies that have the ability to respond.
Remember, we did that a few years ago.
And they incentivize that, but it's normally for us, it would be very difficult for us to actually operationally accommodate that. And the cost savings is not significant enough for us to really mobilize for that. They're really targeting, DWR, the largest energy consumer in the state water contractors, the big pumpers that when they turn their pumps off, the grid notices. That's really what they're after.
Okay. Thank you,
But
Michael.
yeah, sorry, Damon, did you want to jump on that too?
Oh, I was just gonna say. We reviewed this, I want to say about 6 months ago, and it just still wasn't, we have so few PG&E counts and they're so small that it wouldn't give us what Michael was describing through the, were it to be through CPPA. It's just not there.
Russ, do you have something on?
Well, yeah, while Damon's standing there, are you going to be going down to the Aqua meeting in Indian Wells?
Currently not slated to be going down there.
Well, the reason I asked that question is last time that I went down there, came back with some information on like the inline hydro that some agencies put in where they've got pressure reduction requirements. You can put in one of these units. I think the feedback that I got is that it's really not practical for us or something, but we have, there are maybe half a dozen vendors for that kind of equipment at that show. I'd like to be armed with some information, some specific information before we go down there to see where it might be marginal, but with the electricity rates going up and up and up and up, maybe it's looking more feasible. I mean, I don't want to build solar arrays or anything like that, but if we have facilities that have this pressure differential that is going untapped, let's take a hard look at that.
We'll get some info to Mike for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, before we move on to board reports on item 6 on our agenda, I've been remiss in asking for public comment on number 1. So we're gonna ask for public comment on 3C, our claim summary. I know we have no one in the room, so looking on online to see if anybody on new business,
Francisco has his hand up.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Item 3C, the claim summary.
No, I
Francisco,
was
go
waiting
ahead.
for you to get, I was waiting to get to the metrics part where Director Davidson mentioned something about employee data.
Okay,
So
we're gonna
that
ask
one's
for,
not agendized. We
Yeah.
can add that. That'll be on the External Relations Committee agenda, and we can dive into that in detail there.
okay, we will ask for
No, I
public
mean,
comment on items that are on the agenda. Item 4A, Calaveras County Water District's role in Calaveras County Water District's role in Calaveras County. Any public comment on that? That was the video that we showed. Okay. And then item 4B, update on district's operation-based purchasing, our purchasing agent efforts, our warehousing and heavy-duty fleet, presented by Damon and Michael, our purchasing agent, not manager.
Since, couldn't we give Francisco an opportunity to do the public comment like we do in the beginning of the agenda to talk about something that's not on the agenda in case he has a comment to say?
Yeah.
Can we go back and open up public comment for him so he can make a quick comment and we don't
On
respond?
Cindy, on items that are on the agenda, absolutely, but if there's not an item on the agenda, we're not gonna ask for public comment on that.
Well, because he kind of wanted to respond, I'm just wondering if it wouldn't be bad for him to make a comment using like the public comment section. We can't respond, we can't talk about it because it's not on the agenda, but I'm wondering if he has something important to say about the employee thing.
Go ahead, Francisco, you have three minutes.
Thank you.
Public comment. We're going back to at Director Cicada's request to general public comments at the opening of the meeting, but we will for your sake allow that. So please go ahead.
This was related to the interaction between Director Davidson and General Manager Minkler about the data being captured, including employee-specific data. We have no interest in employee-specific data in the metrics project. We're looking at enterprise-wide matrix at the lowest level down to the plant, 1 of 6 in Jenny Lind or wherever they are. But we don't want to get into employee appraisals or anything like that. We're looking at, for example, your cost of service study laid out a 5-year budget by year by year by year. We want to track that. Your CIP project has budgets and timelines. Those are the metrics we're interested in. We're not interested in what you give to employees' appraisals. That's something for the GM and you all to work out. I'm looking at metrics at the enterprise level. Wanted to be clear about that.
Okay, and it sounds like we'll be taking that up at the external affairs meeting, so hope to see you there. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to item 6 on our agenda, board reports, information, future agenda items. We'll start with Director Cicada.
Yes, thank you for letting him do that. I just wanted to let you know that West Point had the Lumberjack Days this past weekend, and it was very well attended. And it was actually a really hot day, so I didn't stay too terribly long. And so let's see. When the public comment for the transmission line and stuff, I was glad to see that we're going to have that on the engineering committee and then for discussion. And then also we'll bring it back to the board just to let us know what you guys did. Right, Michael? On the what was the AB transmission or the ABS?
What Randy brought up.
Yeah, Randy, what Randy brought up.
Yep.
And then I'm wondering if during your report, which you did, if we don't have it as an agenda item, could you report out each time on the dashboard update, whether it's you met X amount of times? I don't need to, because I'll call in to the engineer or to the external relations committee, but just make sure that you just say, okay, we've met and are still working with Francisco or whatever, just to give us a quick little 1-minute update without being too in depth, just letting us know that you're working on it and you met.
Okay.
And then somebody mentioned about the SEIU contracts not being on the website. Is that something that you could put on the website?
I think it is, but we'll confirm.
I looked, but then again, I just looked under employment.
Yeah, we'll make sure he
I don't
gets it.
know.
Yeah.
And the management unit as well, I
Sure.
think would be good. And I'll do that later. And for the next board meetings, when we have that list, do you think we could add the when the committee meetings are meeting, if it's known by the time we print this? Just as a transparency to help.
Yeah, although those meeting dates tend to shift
I
a
know.
lot more than they used to, so I'd be a little reluctant to add them because then if we change them, they're already out in print.
Gotcha.
But we send out notices when we change those dates to the people that are on the distribution list.
Maybe if we could somehow put it on the front page of the website, that committee meeting is this Tuesday, or, when we know it's not changed, or the external affairs committee.
It's on there, isn't it?
Yeah, we do. We
Well,
post it on there. Yeah,
On
we
the
post
front page when you first land, or is it, do you have to go to committees and they have to go look for it? I'm just saying a little pop-up that says,
Yeah,
just.
that's not a- we could add like a.
Direct discretion to whoever works on our website and how they design it, and not have everything being a pop-up and an immediate thing that we think is important. That's kind of getting into the nuts and bolts of day-to-day operations. which is where
Maybe
should
could we
be.
agendize the website, because maybe we need to find a dedicated and hire a dedicated person if we don't have the time to do
Hire
it.
another person?
I
Did I have-
discuss it. I know, but it sounds to me like we use that as our main communication tool with the ratepayers, and we all.
No,
we're
no, we
here at this
absolutely do.
meeting.
I'm just
So
saying
we
that every
need-
time
if
one of
somebody-
us has an item that we think is important.
No,
It
it
can't
is,
be a
it
pop-up.
is on the homepage. We do, again, we post it on social media too. We post those agendas in multiple
Okay.
places and it does show up on the homepage of the website already.
I'm just responding, to the attendance we had for the public hearing, and I heard a lot of complaints about no communication. So if I come up with an idea, I just make a suggestion. You're doing it, Facebook and whatnot, and it's already there, you say, so I'm good with that. Anyhow, that's it.
Director Thomas.
Hey, it was mentioned earlier about Kelly's short videos and stuff. It's the first time last night that I had actually observed those, but they are really getting out there on the social media sites, and kudos to Kelly G for that. That's, I hope he keeps it up and does more. Okay, I think that's all I have, well, comments for today.
Director Davidson?
Yeah, I just want to go back to Randy Scheidt's comments in regards to the assessment um, of our pipelines. I would like to take a look at that. I don't know if what the timing is, because I'm not sure I'll be here in November. I don't know that it's I think we've done all the assessment we need for the AB transmission line. That thing is in focus, but if there is a cost-effective way to have to start to look at those, I mean, we know we're tracking the troubled areas. We know where the troubled areas are, but it would be, if it isn't super expensive, it would be nice to have that list of suspect water line areas. It'll just provide more backup for us to, for our capital improvement plan. But I don't know about the timing, so I kind of want to, talk to staff about that. I may not be here that first week in November and the second week for that matter. So I don't know that it's something that has to happen within the next month. I don't think it's gonna, I mean,
No.
but that's, that's just something to talk about.
I think our November meeting's been moved to the third week in November, just,
Well, I think we're talking about engineering committee, but we'll
Oh,
coordinate
yeah.
with the engineering committee members
Yeah,
on
I probably won't be
the
there.
next meeting.
I'm almost certain I won't be at that meeting.
and to piggyback on that, that is taking institutional knowledge that has left already and bringing it back in is what he did today, and that is helpful.
Jeff, I could probably attend and then you could call in.
Right?
I mean, if you can-
You don't need one. Have to go to one person once in a while. Okay, we're gonna move on with reports. Bertha, under
Okay. Talking about Evans Pass, great job on the Tulies. I mean, it's just, but you wouldn't recognize White Pines Lake right now. It's just mud.
Yeah.
And the White Pines Park Committee is, suffering with that because people like to go tramping in the mud. And then they go up to the bathrooms and wash off their shoes and everything is just,
Wow.
I don't know what it is. So will you get rid of that mud now?
Yeah, so we will start refilling here soon, as soon as the crew is done with the work in the lake. But until we have significant precipitation, it'll be a very slow.
Oh, yeah.
refill.
Oh, yeah.
But it will be, I am pleased I should have also reported out that the laser light show is happening again this year. The reflection off the water may not be what it was in previous years, but because the lake level is so low, but they are still moving forward with that.
Uh-huh. Oh, great. That's the day after Thanksgiving.
The day after, I think so.
Yeah.
I want to say
yeah.
November 24th. I should have had that
Mhm.
ready. Sorry, but we'll provide another update as it gets
Talk
closer.
Social affairs up in the past. No, I don't have anything.
24th would be the day after.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a few things to report on. Our last meeting, September 27th, I was in Roseville, attended remotely. And I was there for our liability meeting and our finance and audit meeting the following day. Andy Sells, a 33-year longtime employee of JPI, retired.
Oh,
Our new CEO, Adrian Beatty, who has been with the JPI for 2 years, has now taken over in her official
Adrian.
capacity.
We met. Nice.
Adrian Beatty, yeah. And we had his retirement party was Thursday evening. And that was the same day of our executive committee meeting that morning. Let's see, I did attend the Ummer meeting on behalf of Director Davidson and the barbecue last Friday. And went on a Utica tour yesterday with several people, many people from the Aqua JPI was able to attend that as well. Tomorrow night, we have a reception in Sutter Creek for Mountain County Water Resource Association. Everyone's invited. It's going to be, and there's going to be a tour of the Night Foundry. If anyone's heard about that, it's a water operated old foundry. They crank the water on and all the machinery in the building runs just like it used to. And the following morning on on Friday morning, the 13th, Mountain County has our 9 a.m. Meeting at another historic site in Sutter Creek at the Gold Grammar School building on Cole Street. Next week, the Legal Affairs Committee and General Manager Minkler are attending meetings in Washington, D.C. with our federal lobbyist, Mia O'Connell. And that's
Who's going to Washington? Michael?
Legal Affairs Committee, myself and Director Davidson
Mhm,
and Mr. Minkler.
mhm.
That's all I have to report. Our next board meetings are October 25th and Wednesday, November 15th, right here in this boardroom at 1 p.m. Please note that that is the third weekend in November. And as of today, we've also canceled the second meeting in December. We're moving into closed session with items 8A, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation related to California Sports Fishing Protection Alliance versus all persons interested in the matter. And item 4B, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. And then item 8C, government code agents, general manager Michael Minkler. Let's see, agency negotiations, general manager Michael Minkler, HR manager Casey Lawler regarding negotiations with management and confidential units. Any public comment on closed session items? Seeing none, we're going to move into closed session. Thank you, everybody.
Can I go use the restroom?
No. Yes, we.
Thank you.